see you in the preliminary final. It's all over, and the Bulldogs go through the grand final. Toughest kicks ever.
And he's a long way out. He hits it, and he's kicked it, I think. Hodges kicks it. Port Adelaide, you are miracle workers.
Well, this showdown between Port Adelaide and Central District has been literally bursting with emotion. The Bulldog fans are now expecting their first ever win, and the Magpies, of course, will accept nothing less than seeing in the power with their 34th, another premiership. We've had the drama of suspensions, of injuries, and the colour of yesterday's motorcade. And today, on the SANFL's biggest day out, that emotion will surely come to a head. Well, good afternoon to you and welcome to Football Park here in Adelaide, South Australia. It's great to have your company. I'm Stephen Trigg and I have the great pleasure of hosting you through what should be a fabulous afternoon. The prize this afternoon, it's very easy really. It's this little baby here, the Thomas Seymour Hill Trophy, and it's on offer in about 3 hours' time. In about 3 hours' time, it'll be either Girdham or Girdham holding it up there, and a bit later it'll be some champagne. Let's go straight down to the central rooms. There's a fair bit of work to do before the cup's held aloft. And you can see down there that there'd be a few nerves in that Bulldogs locker room. It's their second in a row, the second grand final in a row, and this year they're hoping to go one better. Certainly Stephen Wright in his first year would like them to go one better.
Steve, this is familiar territory. You've won 2 out of the last 3 grand finals in Tasmania with Clarence, but then you were a player. Today you're a coach. Is it any different for you as a coach?
Oh, it's a lot easier game up here. You're sitting in the coaching box and you can see what players are doing and what they should be doing. So I've told the players it's a lot easier for me than what it is for them. But my job is just to try and teach them the correct things and tell them the things they've done wrong.
You've almost had a perfect preparation coming into today's grand final with a week off, then the second semi-final. You won that well. You've had another week off. Your older boys particularly must be jumping out of their skin.
I've never made it a secret that we've got some older players. We've got some players who played the game very hard in Potter and Girdham, just to name a few. So the break's going to do them the world of good. And come 2:20 on Sunday, they'll be jumping out of their skin. 3 guys that missed last year's grand final: Potter, Jimmy Wind, and Peter Green. Have they spoken to you about their involvement today? I've spoken to them. I spoke to them about how disappointing it was for them to miss out. And I just asked them during the week on the training track to be the most enthusiastic people because they know what it's like to miss out. And what's the attitude been like at training this week? Have they been pretty uptight or have they been fairly relaxed, the boys? Oh, pretty relaxed. I tried to make it as relaxed as possible. I believe if when you're at training you can have a bit of fun, as long as when it's time to do some work, you do the work.
They'll have some fun if they win, all right, the Bulldogs locker room. That is the key for them. They have to match, and if preferable, better that intensity that Port Adelaide generate and the surge that always comes at you. Sort of a mismatch in a way. 34th Premiership Port Adelaide are aiming for, Central District are aiming for their first, and Stephen Williams is in his first year as the senior coach at Port Adelaide.
Steve, you came into this final series as the underdog in virtually every game. You've won your way through in typical Port Adelaide style.
Yeah, we haven't been the fancy team, but that suits us down on the ground. We've come through with adversity before, and there's no reason why we can't do it again today.
The emotion of stealing that game last week on the siren really must have buoyed the club all week. The humour must have been terrific on the track and the players would be very confident.
It's really pumped the club up. I said to the guys afterwards, it's probably one that we pinched. You know, a lot of people thought perhaps we didn't deserve to be there, but we know we did. We're there now, and you know, last week's fantastic win is just wasted if we don't go on with it today.
Now, you haven't beaten Central this year. The record stands at 4-0. Why can you turn it around in the grand final?
Yeah, 4-0, it's not good on our point, but a grand final's a different game. We're confident. We beat Central's last year. I think our side's as good this year, and with the experience we've got, that know-how of winning premierships, it's just those little 1% things that get you over the line in grand finals, and I'm pretty sure we've got the players that can do it for us today.
Your father, Foss, coached 9 Port Adelaide premiership teams, was a champion of the club. You've got your chance to get one. Do you realise how great his achievement is now that you're sitting in the same seat? Yeah,
it's fantastic to think of the pressure that's on you. Just last week's game, it's unbelievable, and to know that Dad's done it, you know, 9 occasions is just an unbelievable feat. So, you know, it's something that makes you appreciate it even more when you think about it like that.
It's a great achievement, isn't it, as we see Port Adelaide warming up. Stephen Carter on the right of screen there, but Foss Williams, 9 premierships. Of course, he took over from Jack Cale, who won 10. So there's some pretty big shoes to fill in there as we see the parachutists coming down. There's lots of colour here today, and as you can see, there'd be a breeze anyway, but from right to left of screen, there's a bit of a southerly blowing. We'll get a report from Mark Nolly in just a moment. And a big cheer goes up as the Honeymans hit the deck. Over 1,700 jumps for that man on screen there. And he has successfully made it down. There's Mick Honeyman now. Pretty much spot on, isn't it? Certain amount of madness, I reckon, jumping from that height. I reckon I'd rather run into a Scott Hodges shirt front personally, but they've done well from a very lofty height and come in right smack bang into the centre of Football Park. So joining us this afternoon also on our Premiership team is 3 times Premiership winner with Carlton, Ken Sheldon. Good afternoon to you. And Ken, talking about Stephen Williams with his father Foss with 9 and Jack with 10, they're just huge shoes.
Well, they certainly are huge shoes to fill. It's a lot of pressure, I guess, on Stephen, but the Port Adelaide Football Club, in making that appointment early in the season, they have a great deal of faith. There's a great deal of togetherness for Port Adelaide. They really are focused, and I'm sure win or lose, a great deal of it won't be to the detriment of Stephen Williams.
For Central District to win this premiership, they're going to have beaten Port Adelaide 5 times, which is just extraordinary within the context of 1 year. They beat them by 27 points, the Bulldogs, in round 2, I beg your pardon. In round 11 it was by 21, in round 20 it was by 10 points, and that's the one that you were impressed with. They came from behind.
Yes, they were 31 points behind at 3/4 time at the Elizabeth Oval, and the Bulldogs just come from nowhere to win that game by 10 points.
It's just a magnificent day for football because from the players' perspective, it's a little overcast, there's a little southwesterly breeze, and the current temperature is around 15.5 degrees. We've been into the Port rooms, we've been into the Central rooms, jangling nerves. There's bound to be the same in the umpires' room.
The 3 grand final umpires, Richard Williams, Michael Avon and Troy Burton. Richard, first to you. You looking forward to today's game?
Yeah, it should be a fantastic day. Couldn't get better weather and ground looks good. Both teams are pretty pumped, so we should have a good game.
What's your expectation of the opening 5 or 10 minutes of the game? You think it'll be pretty busy?
I think everyone's spot on. It's going to be very hard footy.
And Michael, this for you is your first grand final.
That's right.
You know, you don't really know what to expect, but I suppose the older guys have told you what's coming at you.
Oh, they have, yes. They've helped me all season.
And how's the nerves?
Oh, I had a shocking night last night, up 4 or 5 times.
Did you get any sleep at all?
Yeah, I got a few hours.
And what about breakfast this morning? Did we get much down?
Bowl of cornflakes.
Just enough to get you through the game. Troy, I suppose for you, 10 years umpiring, this is just another game, but it's not.
No, certainly not. No, it's going to be a lot different, big atmosphere, and the teams will be going pretty hard, so it should be a good day.
You seem pretty relaxed. You don't seem to have any nerves at all. You nice man.
Oh, I've just flushed that, David, so it should be okay.
Good luck today, fellas. Hope it's a great day. We're not going to see any soft free kicks, I'm told.
No, we'll do what you want, Macca.
Now, what about the send-off rule?
Well, hopefully we won't have to use it.
Only on me.
Only you.
Good on you. See you, fellas. Good luck.
See you.
Thanks.
Well, the umpires are out on the ground, and so too are Central District. Look at that for a banner. The Bulldog Blitz. Well, I reckon they'd be happy to get home by a point, to be honest with you. In their 34th year, they'd be just happy to get home. But there's an enormous amount of expectation on them, Ken, in terms of last year They made it to the grand final, but perhaps not the expectation this year. The fans expect them to win.
Well, I think there's no doubt that this is, in fact, the best Central District team that they could assemble on the park. They are ready. Today is the day that they must come home with the bacon.
And one of the news flashes we've just got is that David Flood is not playing for Central District. Number 5 is out as we see the balloons hit the air, but that is a blow for the Dogs.
That is a big blow. David Flood is a very, very good player, key forward for the Bulldogs. However, he was not a part of the second semi-final team, so perhaps to his disadvantage, but somebody else really has something to play for now.
So we've got Flood down on the bottom right-hand corner there, lined up in a full forward pocket, but he's not going to be playing, we're told, unless there's one or two shifties going on. But at the moment it reads Lee, Hicks and Wakeland, and Wakeland's a question mark as to where he plays as well, be it backwards or forwards. Across centre they look great with Saywell, McGowan and Stevens.
Well, that is really where the game will be won or lost, because the Port Adelaide side have tremendous strength across there as well. But Saywell, he's a youngster in tremendous form. McGowan, the player of the year. And up forward, they have Big Conway, who is just magnificent. A very tall player and very accurate with the left foot.
Conway's going to be important, isn't he? Roger Girdham, little Captain Kamikaze there. That's not Roger Girdham, that's just a mascot. And Roger is going to be so important to them today, though. That's a great look, isn't it? Plenty of colour out in the car parks. And the Maggies have been eaten alive by the look of it already. Now, Port Adelaide's side, they lost Poole through suspension, and that has been the talk of the week.
It really has been the talk of the week, no question about that. But again, if that fist hadn't been thrown, would Port Adelaide have been in this year's grand final?
Well, we'll talk about that as the day unfolds, but their full back line is Fiacci, Delaney and Mead. Then they have the experience of North East Lees and the young fellow in Figott, first year for him. Across centre, they're wonderfully experienced and a bit of pace there as well. So what do you think? Will Wilson pick up McGowan?
I've no doubt that he'll go with somebody. Perhaps McGowan will be the man. And when you put Brown and Ginniver into that midfield strength of Port Adelaide, it really is something special. And up forward, of course, they have two of the most experienced and best forwards in the competition, Darren Smith, and at full forward, Scott Hodges.
110 goals for Hodges this year. Tim Ginniver named as a first rover. He looked very, very sore to me last week, and he's the man. 6 premierships for Timmy. He's the catalyst. If he's sore, they've got a problem.
They have, but what they really do need from the likes of Ginniver is that significance. When something's there, an opportunity is there, the seniority, those players really can make the most of an opportunity. Ginniver is one. He will initiate something somewhere, and Port Adelaide will be the recipient of that good work. A great leader.
Already, it starts to sound a little like Wembley in June, because we've got the Central chant up, and the Port Adelaide chant now goes up. It's just a great atmosphere here. And the question for you, Ken, as we wait for Port Adelaide to come out, Central just seem to have everything in their favour. Poole is out, they're well rested, they've got the taste last year. Port Adelaide are tired. Surely it couldn't be better set for them than today.
No, today is the day of the Bulldog. If they can't win one today, well, really they will. It'll be serious problems up in the northern suburbs. They have to win today, and as you said, the stage is truly set.
Let me put the question to you. The rest has seen Central District have pretty much so much of a break that they've had only 2 games in the last 4 or 5 weeks. Port Adelaide have done it the tough way, including a bruiser last week against Norwood. Whose is the best preparation?
Well, I believe it's always a team that can go straight in. But of course, there's sides that have won from all sorts of positions. But Port Adelaide certainly have had a very difficult run. They have their senior players supposedly perhaps carrying some injuries. The Bulldogs have had the easiest, the most comfortable, and they are at full strength here today.
So the big roar is for Port Adelaide as they hit the deck. The context of things will change a little next year as they go through. Look at that for a side here at Football Park. Things will change so slightly next year when the Port Power come along, the big brother. But this Port Adelaide side, particularly with the last couple of premierships, is so wonderfully courageous. It can never be said that this Port Adelaide side is beaten, Ken. And we're not talking about the past, we're talking about that core of players out there on the deck at the moment.
Well, there's a great deal of experience. The never stay die attitude is there. It was evidenced in last week's preliminary final with Hodges kicking that final goal. Just a magnificent, strong team. The group dynamics of this team, the togetherness is something special.
Delaney on screen there. 5 and 6 premierships for players like Borlays, Smith, Delaney, Fiacci, North East, Hodges. There's just so much experience there. Central District, I'm sure, the mindset for them at the moment, Ken, would be probably that everything is so much in their favour. I wonder if it works against them in a funny way.
I don't think so. I think the composure, the togetherness of this team, the focus that they have, the mission that they have, I think they truly are set. They'll be out there at the moment absorbing the euphoria of soaking up the atmosphere. When the toss is selected as to who's going to win, they know where they're going to kick, they know where they'll position, they'll really then focus up on the first bounce of that football.
Now, last year, Roger Girdham there on screen, number 10, the Bulldog captain, won the toss and kicked into the breeze. But this year, you'd expect if he wins it, he'd do something a little different. The toss by Josh Franco. And Mark Nailey's down there will tell us all about what's happened as Roger Girdham wins it and kicks with a breeze, Nails.
Yes, Roger Girdham's won the toss down here. He's kicking to the northern end, which is favouring by about a 2 or 3 goal breeze down here in the middle of the ground.
What about the condition of the ground itself, Mark? Looks pretty firm from here.
Absolutely sensational condition. Yeah, the surface is perfect, just that slight bit of breeze, but I'll tell you now, both sides are very pumped up, and I reckon it'll be a great opening to this game.
What sort of voice can you hear down there, Mark? What sort of things are being said?
Well, the Port players are pretty focused, so are the Centrals players. Not too many words have been said, but just look at the expressions on their faces. They want to play football this afternoon and win the grand final.
Now, the toss has favoured Central. Ken, that's a good start for them.
Well, we've seen in the reserves where Port Adelaide were 28-point victors over Norwood to left of screen. There probably is a 2 or 3 goal advantage, as Mark Nailey called. So, you know, I think that toss is a very handy win.
Well, as you said, Port Adelaide won the reserves, and we heard that familiar tune of theirs, the club song, ringing out around Football Park, as we've done at 5 o'clock on the first Sunday in October for the last couple of years as Central District go into the huddle. They've got to get themselves lined up in a moment. What goes through the mind now?
Well, it's total focus now. That man there, Schaefer, in screen, very vital to the Bulldogs' opportunity. Number 2 on screen, the big ruckman, cross from Richmond this year, has had a big influence and will give his smaller players, such as McGowan, Girdham, first use of the footy, a vital role has he to play today.
We're all set now, and in commentary this afternoon, before we pick up the game, I'm just going to ask David Mackay, who's calling this afternoon, a quick tip, DB.
I've gone for Central's, Triggy. I've tipped them by a goal. I think this match will be a very, very close one. And if ever the Bulldogs are going to get on the board, it'll be today.
Go down to Mark Nailey. And Mark, your tip?
My tip's going to be Central this afternoon by around about, I reckon, between 20 and 30 points.
So 2-0. And Ken Sheldon is in the special comments chair. Ken, yourself?
Well, I believe it's a ready-made day for the Bulldogs, and I've tipped them by at least 5 goals.
Well, I've seen Port Adelaide, through that man in particular, Scott Hodges, come back so many times in the past. You just can't write them off, a la last week. If you joined us right at the head of our coverage this afternoon, he kicked a goal, the second to last kick last week, and Hodges nailed it. He's the key factor. Damien Hicks has done well on him so far, but he's really got his hands full today. And if you went to centre bet, you could have got 5-1 on Scotty kicking the first goal today. You could have got 14-10 on Port Adelaide winning. You would have got 6-10 on Central District winning. But this Port Adelaide side have done it so often. Look at the premierships there. Delaney, half a dozen. North East the same, number 32. Fiachi the same, number 4. Brian Lees is just through there. Won with him last year. Joined the club from Richmond. Stephen Carter on the right has a couple. They really are well experienced. And this is a magnificent crowd. And this is going to be one of the magnificent contests also of the year. Andrew Borkwell on screen, ready to go. He's playing at centre-half forward. Simon Lewis has taken David Flood's spot. Watch for the sparks early. And David Mackay, get us into business.
Thanks, Stephen. The 1996 SANFL Grand Final gets underway as umpire Michael Avon holds the ball aloft. He'll put the ball down, let the big men go at it. Rob Schaefer, number 2 from the right. Mead from the left, 33 for Port. Already Lees comes in. There'll be some body work. Watch for it.
It's been some magnificent body work already out in the half-forward flank. Ball ace and Swert playing on the half-back flank for Central District. And in the middle, you've got McGowan being picked up by Wilson.
You've already heard 4-zip in favour of the Bulldogs this year, but Port Adelaide are grand final specialists. Harada playing today at centre-half back on Darren Smith. Gets the first kick forward to space. Vardy keeps the ball in play. Did pretty well. Lees comes crashing through. Binky was there in support, but Lees gets the first free of the game for being taken too high. Went back to Richmond at the start of this year. The club decided they needed him back, and he came, he answered the call, and today he plays in his second grand final in 2 years for Port Adelaide. Packed down, look at the players come in. This is the unsettled time. Ball A 16 for Port Adelaide, 28 is Potter, and coming up with the ball is Stephen Carter. who I can tell you was drafted a few years ago by Essendon, but Port Adelaide, such is their magnetism, they enticed him to stay home, and next year he'll join their Port Power squad. Darren Smith crashes through. Girdham does the tough 1% things. Harada over the top of the ball, flicks it out to Cook, number 6. Now it comes to Wilson, who tries to get a handball away, but look at the intensity of the tackling. Harada crashes through. Brown claims him in a tackle. Schaefer gets a kick away. It was a scrubber towards the boundary line, and the ball's out of play. We're 1.5 minutes in, and already you can see how tough it's going to be to get a kick.
Some of the other matchups, Hodges at full forward on Hicks for Port Adelaide. Delaney playing at full back on Big Conway, who was the Central District full forward. And across centre wing you have Fabian Francis picking up number 15 for Central District. In Stevens and Greg Anderson playing here on the members wing, lining up on James Saywell, number 29 for the Bulldogs.
Some great clashes all over the ground as Mead has a big job this afternoon with Schaefer. He's done it plenty of times before though, Darren Mead. Shovelled out by Ginniver. The umpires found a free kick to Ricky McGowan.
Right move starting Crothers, the big Port Adelaide ruckman on the bench, Stephen.
Well, I think so. Mead has the experience. Lees overran it. Here's an opportunity. Cook picks it up. He's about 60 metres out. Just a little bit of breeze. Pushed it off the side of the boot. Conway, Delaney, so too Saywell. Got himself inside half forward from 49 metres out. The kick's beautiful. And Vardy's hit and should get 25. Well, he doesn't. But he's going to get a kick at goal from about 20 metres out on a very acute angle.
And this goal is not as difficult as it looks. The wind will be going across his right shoulder, so all he needs to do is put it to the front and the wind will carry it through.
Well, I must admit, I'm just a little surprised that he didn't get the advantage there, but he's kicked the goal. It doesn't matter. The Bulldogs are away in the 96 grand final. Peter Vardy gets his first, and the Bulldogs, 3 and a bit minutes in, are away.
And that goal has come about through some good pressure at centre wing on the outer side. Cook, he rove to the front and square of that pack at half forward, and then you've seen that perfect pass there from James Saywell. Saywell playing on the members wing, put a beautiful pass to Vardy, who took it on his chest and then was able to kick a great goal with the advantage of the wing.
3.5 minutes in, the Bulldogs get first blood. They're taking a bite out of the Magpies, but believe me, the Port Adelaide side are renowned for coming at you, and hard. Carter around the corner. Beautiful kick, finds Lees. Playing today in the defensive position. Feeds it out to Borlase. Ruck roving, short kick. Rowan Smith on the oval. Tries to fight hard for it. Number 40 is Stephen Schwert for Centrals. And 55 is Brenton Daniel. It's a great experience on that Centrals half-back line. I suppose you can say the same for Port Adelaide. They have got, after all, a number of players who have played in 6 flags. They've got 5 of them and 3 players who have played in 5 grand finals. So Port Adelaide have got the edge in experience. Big fly. Treadray couldn't bring it down. Schwert holding the ball. No, said the umpire, he couldn't get it away.
The correct decision there. Daisy Borlase, number 16 for Port Adelaide, wrapped him up with tremendous strength, and Stephen Schwert just didn't have any chance whatsoever.
Yeah, you've got to have the opportunity of getting rid of it, Stephen, don't you? He just didn't have an opportunity.
Looked very much like it was held to him, didn't it? This is Brown, inside half forward. Stevens provided the pressure. Now Cook's there in support. Crashing his way in was Mead. And it goes to ground. I know you've mentioned it, but it just looks great with Ginniver and Girdham lining up side by side.
Wilson also tagging McGowan, as we've called. And you've got Brown on Cook, as well as in first ruck, Mead opposed to Schaefer.
Finals head-to-head, 8-1. We might just mention for those viewers who are joining us overseas, as Wilson goes towards goal, it's coming around, it's dropping short with a bounce through. Scotty Lee just got there, the tater, number 12, and got fingertips to it. And I was about to say that the one time they've beaten Port Adelaide in a final ever was in the second semi-final just 2 weeks ago.
David Green and Peter Green on interchange. The ball's kicked in. Hicks under a pump for him. It goes short to Anderson. The pressure was just enough. Anderson, Mead is 70 metres out. The kick looks pretty good. Watch for Hodges. Oh, he crashed in. It was good work by Girdham, who just sat in the hole. He did okay. Now Lee cleans it up. Half back across the top to McGowan. Works back. Kicks quickly, but Port Adelaide are there in numbers. It took an off break though. A tough one to take, and Brian Harada now with some time. Stephen Carter will wrap him up, and we'll have a bounce down on centre wing.
No, certainly letting it flow, the umpires. A couple of free kicks that perhaps could have been paid in Tiggy's touchwood situations, but this is a final. They realise
blood rule, fellas.
What is necessary.
Up to the back of the head, and the blood rule will force him from the oval. For our overseas viewers, if blood's coming out of a play, he must leave the oval and have it attended to, and then he can come back on.
Timmy Ginniver also leaving. Perhaps there's been some splashed over his arm.
It's going to unsettle him just a little bit, because Brian Herrera has had a wonderful season at centre half-back.
Brian Herrera is not a player who gets a lot of possession of the ball, but what he does do is he beats his man, and that's his main job, is just to stop his man.
Simon Lewis will come on, number 25, as Ginniver comes off the skipper for Port Adelaide, and Bamford comes on, number 50.
And as that's happening, Rowan Smith is playing in the forward pocket, along with Hodges at full forward and McGuinness in the other pocket for the Magpies. And Tim Ginniver is playing in the midfield now on interchange.
7 minutes in, just a short break for the blood rule. The ball will go down again, but that might have just been enough time to let the players settle. The nerves are ferocious. The adrenaline is pumping through the body. They feel like supermen now. Girdham gets it out to Stevens, kick away to half forward. Borkle front position, taps it down, Cotton feeds off. Cook into the open goal, and he's missed. Well, he won't like that. That was a sitter.
That was a sitter, and that's money for old rope for a player of his experience. You really must be able to put those through. But what a tremendous build-up and tremendous run. Cook has really started in brilliant fashion.
Just maybe needed to just take the foot off the accelerator on the last stride there. Borlase inside half-back. Has a look and finds Lees. And Brian Lees, he loves to roam wide. On the right leg this time, towards centre wing. Best spot probably is Schwert. Gets the spoil away. Ginniver straight back on. Saywell. Schwert. Option short was Cotton. Decided not to use him. Wrong option, really. Lees, in comes Cotton. No, did he get him too high? No. And again, we've got a dead ball. We see Brian Herrera being attended to.
Bit of leucoplast tape. Actually, it's just as well he shaved his head.
He's going to come back on looking like he's got a headband on. Bounce down. Schaefer and Mead and Cook is number 6 for Central District. Just missed that one a moment ago. So 8.5, nearly 9 minutes have gone.
Looks like John McEnroe.
So long as he can get back out there, I'm sure Central fans will be happy. 9 minutes have gone. 7 points to Central, 1 point to Port.
Brian Herrera played in last year's losing grand final. There's a few out there, by the way. I think about a dozen of them in total for the Bulldogs who played and lost last year, and it is a burning fire in them to get up and win one. Fabian Francis, his form's been outstanding. This fellow, they call him Flash, you can see why. Just evaded 3 tackles and got through traffic. D. Smith, big game player, always keeps his best for the big games. Over the top, the handball to Anderson. Anderson will run onto it under pressure from Potter. Oh, he got through. He showed a turn of pace, didn't he? And wide it goes. Scotty Lee front position from behind. Treadray gave a good, honest contest. Stevens flicks it back now. Oh, there's a free there. Treadray will pick it up. Wakeland, the offender, and Michael Avon, the umpire, picked it up off the ball. And Treadray takes the free. 60 out, and there it is. So he'll take the kick, punch it in long and hard. Scotty Hodges front position. Schaefer from behind, thumped it down. Ginniver front position, flicks it out. They're going at it. Rowan Smith, now Potter, quickly forward. They did it well, didn't they? Saywell to Scotty Lee. Wider still. Borkle did well in the contest, but Lee sits back and mops it up nicely.
Here's Francis again. The book was magnificent. He gets it across the top. Carter, Borlase, now Rowan Smith. Look at the experience in that little lot. He hits it to within about 30 metres of the goal. Front spot and should be a free to Schaefer, not paid. Diving in over the football is Hodges, and we've got another bounce down.
The umpire said in the change rooms earlier, Stephen, that they're not going to pay anything of a soft nature. Tiggy Touchwood needs to be a fair dinkum free, then they'll pay them.
Clearly that wasn't soft though. That was over the shoulder, unquestioned.
And I think Borkle's coming off now for Herrera, and that's an interesting move. Simon Lewis will probably go to centre half forward, and Herrera at some stage will assume his spot at centre half back. So we've got a bounce down going on as Balkwill hits the bunker. 20 metres out from the Port Adelaide goal. Kicking into a 2 or 3 goal.
Balkwill will have a very big job to do on Lees. Lees is one of their real keys, so he will have a job to do on him, not only to stay with him, but also to get plenty of the ball himself.
Perhaps there's a tip there why the move was made. Lees has found a bit of the ball early. Wakeland couldn't get through. He's tied up again.
And there's the physicality that's necessary in the opening of any final. Players hard at the ball, hard at the man, ferocious in their endeavour.
Michael Wakeland kicked 2 very important goals late in the game to help Central into this grand final. Treadway wins it down. Geneva claimed in the tackle by Schwert. Schwert was right on him. It was a great tackle. And another bounce.
Well, there'll be a lot of this throughout the day. These both sides, they match up very, very well. One-on-one all over the ground.
David Green getting set to come onto the ground. Hereda and Smith. It's Darren Smith, and Cook's tackled beautifully. It's tough in there, isn't it? Schwert gets a quick kick away. Anderson, Saywell. That'll be a great clash throughout the day. Can't keep it in. And we've got 12 and a bit minutes gone. 1-1 to 1 point. Boundary throwing. As you can see, 52 metres around from that Port Adelaide goal. Ando couldn't take it. Dougal Schwert does. He gets a quick kick away towards centre wing. Lewis, there he is at centre half forward now. Borlase didn't really go at him with any fervour about it. Lined him up but didn't hit. Francis now to half forward for him. Spoiled down on the boundary line once more. Beats Rowan Smith.
Darren Smith gets it through. Brenton Daniel caught with the ball. The umpire said he couldn't get it out. And there'll be another bounce. Mark, that interchange bench has been running very hot down there.
There's more blood flowing down here at the moment than I've ever seen in a game of football before. Andrew Balkwill, he's gone down straight down to the change rooms. He's got an injection in the side of his head, as I just went down there before. He's having some stitches. He'll be back on within about 5 or 10 minutes.
And Brian Hereda, a heavy knock to the back of his head.
Yeah, there's players going down like flies here at the moment. The Port Adelaide players are really throwing themselves into this game. But how long they'll last, I just don't want to know.
They've had a tough campaign, I think, is what Mark's alluding to. Anderson, again the boundary line, and Schwert takes it over.
I think the strategy, Stephen, would be that Port Adelaide reckon they could knock Central out of this game early and really intimidate them.
Well, the word intimidate is the one. The intimidation factor always plays a big part in any game of football, particularly finals.
The Central District will know that they just have to go blow for blow. When Port lift the intensity, they have to go with them. Plenty of tape being used. Balkwill now. Quick kick forward. They keep plundering the goals like this, Port Adelaide. They'll get through in just a moment. McGowan. Lee just keeps it inside.
He's smooth, isn't he?
Kicking for touch, and it's players like Lee and Girdham, the experienced players, that really have to stand up when the Port Adelaide onslaught is taking place.
Moves going everywhere. Lewis off. Wakeland off. David Green on and Andrew Balkwill on. So I'm not sure about Wakeland. I think perhaps they're a bit worried about Treadray's agility. Here is Treadray. Watch this. This little bloke can burn. Takes a bounce, made the error, drags it back inside. The Bulldog defence on full alert at the moment. They're doing pretty well. Hicks attacked the ball. McGuinness from the ground. It's a frenetic little piece of work in there. And Central District are very lucky. It's still in business though. The ball is live. Deep in the full forward pocket. That's a danger zone for Hicks. He needs to go to the boundary line. Picked up by Treadray and he misses. Badly. Out of bounds on the full.
Well, there's a fair bit of pressure.
Enormous pressure there, and Treadray, his inexperience here, really made the wrong move there. He'll learn from that.
Geneva hits the head of the square. Can't do anything with it. Schaefer. So too Lee. No free kick. Hodges has pounced on him. Tunnel ball. Schaefer. Oh, he's gone for a throw, I think. Port Adelaide will get another ping at it.
Well, let me say all the things going in favour of Port Adelaide at the moment. We've seen Hereda have to leave the ground because of a blood rule. Smith immediately came into it, his direct opponent. And then we've seen Wakeland come off with what looked like a leg injury, and Treadray immediately come into it. That decision there, dubious as it was, is for throwing the ball. Hodges now the most accurate kick.
Doesn't he kick some unbelievable goals?
Hodges gets number 111. The scores are tied away in the grand final.
You can see here the replay. That is Dean throwing the ball. and clearly on replay, perhaps the correct decision.
Yeah, I think when you look back on the replay, you've got no argument with that. He sort of scooped it and then pushed it. Well, we're
Scott
16.
Hodges, well, what can I say? What a goal that was last week, and I'll be happy if Scotty can do the same sort of thing with 10 seconds to go today.
We did it at the 16.5 minute of the first term, and he's locked things away at 1-1 apiece. Girdham flicks it through. Jimmy Wine off to McGowan, the premier centreman in the competition this year. Towards Conway at full forward. Spoiled. It falls to Carter. He drills it long and low and almost too wide. The target was Francis, who's covering plenty of ground. Look at him go. Looks like a greyhound, this fellow. Just covers so much ground.
Fabian Francis, number 3 for Port Adelaide, clearly the best at this early stage for the Magpies, and Tim Cook, number 6 for the for the Bulldogs, I think their best player.
James Wind in action there, number 8. Schwert, little slip, still got the kick away. Spoiled forward. Cotton's in just the right spot, you know. Couldn't take it though. Diving it over it was Conway. And another big pack of players for a bounce down.
And it's those fumbles, those crucial fumbles, which really are the difference between a goal and a ball up. That clearly should have been another one on the board for the Bulldogs, but the fumble just causes a hesitation, congestion.
Stephen Schwert, 4 kicks from his half-back flank. Port Adelaide clear it. Here's Schwert again. Should collect number 5. Gets inside. Oh, Smith. Magnificent tackle. It was a beauty. Dished out the back. Herrera now in number 39. He's changed jumpers. Got out of the 19 with the blood rule. Forward it goes. Delaney the big fist. Here's Cotton. And this is a test for Jared because he's on hot ground with Fiachi and a couple of other opponents. Brian Lees gets it. Chips it in short. The run is provided by Ginnivan. Nippy Ginnivan to Francis. Around the body goes Fabian, who, as Ken said, started beautifully from the ground. Saywell looks for and finds the line, and so too does Brenton Daniel.
And that was a magnificent effort from young Brenton Daniel, Jack as he's nicknamed. But like, he was outnumbered 2-1, a much taller opponent, a great deal more experience around him, and yet he was able to bring the ball to ground and eventually take it over to the safety of the boundary line.
Smith takes front position, thumps it down. Jimmy Wine, number 8's over the top, but Brown claims him. Now Jimmy's got to get it out. Girdham's fighting hard for it, and umpire Troy Burton, number 7, says, fellas, I'll have a bounce. We were 19 minutes in. Jimmy Wine, who missed last year's grand final with a broken leg at 31, you just wonder how many more years he's got left in him to grab one. I don't think in 20 years he's played in a senior winning final. Ginnivan, a high ball. McGowan sits underneath it, working hard. Lewis Wilson, well done, young fellow. Off it goes to Brown. Port Adelaide looked terrific early. Scotty Hodges crashes the back, really played it hard and came in solid. McGuinness flicks it out. Rowan Smith, the ball sits around the corner. Which way will it bounce? It bounces the wrong way and ends up out of play. 1-1. Scores are locked together.
Back to Jimmy Wind, changing as a rover with Tim Cook for the Bulldogs.
Boundary throw-in, just adjacent that Port Adelaide goal. They've certainly had plenty of attacking movement. McGuinness won't get there. It goes across the line.
What an exciting forward line that is. Rowan Smith, Scott Hodges and McGuinness across the full forward line with Borlace, Darren Smith and Treadray across half forward.
Are you a bit surprised, though, with Rowan Smith in a forward pocket?
Well, no, because I think he did magnificently well into the latter part of last week's final. He kicked a vital goal, if you remember, in the dying stages.
Into time on now, the first quarter of the 96 grand final. Kick in towards grandstand wing. Look at this for a battle of talent. Francis and Stevens. And Stevens just held off pretty well.
And that's what...
2 of the better wingmen in the competition.
Yes, well, Francis was the runner-up in the McGarry medal this year, so he had a great season. And Scott Stevens, state wingman, he's also had another good season, so it is a good matchup.
In the middle of shot, Michael Malthouse with the sunglasses and the grey hair, the coach of the West Coast Eagles from Western Australia, obviously watching the talent on display in South Australia.
Nobody really wanted to have a go at that one. A bit of shepherding going on. Rowan Smith, Borlace, and again the boundary line. Just the start for Port Adelaide. They've got a 1-point break, and they're kicking into that 2 or 3 goal breeze. So you wouldn't have been surprised if you'd said at the outset that Port would have settled better, and I think they have.
You can clearly see that they really have held the ball up well.
In no small part to people like Ginnivan and Darren Smith, who have started well, as we see the ball close down once more.
Don't forget, if you want to buy this match or any other that the ABC footy team have covered during the year. The ABC shops carry a complete range of the footy videos, and I'm sure, Ken, that a few people will be buying this one.
Well, this is really set up for a great final. It started that way.
McGuinness, his kick forward to the forward pocket. Hodges, couple of grabs, he's gone for a push though. And he's always demonstrative, Scott. He hates it when he gives it away. I think the umpire indicated that he was going to pay 50 then, but he decided to let it play on. Here's Brown. Perfect opportunity for David now, and he misses by a long, long way.
Gee.
You can see there clearly a push in the back. But David Brown, he has been prolific with possession early in this game, and his opponents in Tim Cook and now James Wind will have to really tighten up.
Well, that was given as a point, by the way. That was out of bounds on the full. Oh, let's hope this game doesn't go down to a one-point ball game. Brown kicks for goal, and from this angle it's not so conclusive, but I can tell you, absolutely it went the other side of the post. That is out of bounds on the full. Back with play, live. Girdham. Short goes for Jimmy Wind. Wilson crashed through. Now it ricochets back to Jimmy Wind on the outer wing. Through half forward, he drills it long and low. Look at this. The lead was out. Vardy missed it. No, the umpire said it was paid. So Vardy, who's got the Bulldogs' only goal, a 20-year-old, had a lot of back injuries. Mead sitting back in defence. Marks over the top of Delaney. Play on, said the umpire, so he was forced to play on and go towards the boundary.
And that was a tremendous selection by Jim Wind to use the longer option. You can see in slow motion, you just might see the ball go on the other side of the post. Right there, it disappears clearly out on the full.
The umpire wasn't quite in the right spot, was he? Didn't get across far enough. Central now a chance to score. McGowan's well wrapped up. Wilson and North East are in there working hard on him. And we'll have a bounce down about 20 metres out. 23 and a half minutes gone. Port have made the best start. 1-3. Central District a 1-1. The culmination of a year of hard work. In the next couple of hours, the celebrations will begin, or the frustration will begin. Vardy, beautifully tackled. There's been some great tackling early in this game, as you'd expect, and I reckon that Port Adelaide have put the most on so far.
Yeah, I think Francis has applied a couple, hasn't he? A couple of beauties. Lees has snaffled one or two.
Looks can be deceptive. 9 to Central, 8 to Port Adelaide.
Geneva, aerial ping pong. Vardy off to Schaefer. Schaefer handballs it away. Crashing through is George. Doesn't he love the big occasion, this little back pocket player? With the long kick, but Schwert, who's on top of ball A's early, marks and plays on. On the left boot, he brings it inboard. Jimmy Wind, the former Fitzroy Rover, goes for a long torp. It's a big screwy into the forward line. Delaney from behind spoils. It ricochets forward. Potter picks it up. Cook gets through. He was legged. Gets it out to Cotton. Shot for goal. It's through on the right boot, and he loves them. He kicked 5 early in the year against Port Adelaide, and he's opened pretty well today. He gets his first.
Number 44 for the Bulldogs. He really is something special. He is a player of the future. You can see he's a natural left footer, but he gets this from Cook. Cook, who's been in everything at the packs, and he puts that through on the right foot.
Jared Cotton is a half-forward flanker. He's certainly improved this year, not just his kicking, but just the way that he chases the half-backer out of the forward line. Probably get to North East this week, so that should be a great contest.
That's exactly as it is, Stevie, as the ball's rebounced in centre square. He also wears the number 44 jumper worn by John Platten, so they're not big shoes to fill, but physically that is. Certainly colloquially they are. Centre wing, well done by Borlase. Just held the ball up and then got a beautiful drop punt pass into Brown. Now Brown's inside the centre square. His ball holds up as well. Hodges can't be beaten when he leads like that. Takes a good strong mark.
And Port Adelaide can thank the extra body strength of Darren Mead. Mead pushed Schaefer off the ball in midfield, allowing the Bulldogs to clear that ball. And what just a perfect pass to the fast leading Scott Hodges. But back in centre field is where this goal has been created for the Magpies, if he's accurate.
So Hodges has one. 26 minutes have gone. He has 635 career goals, this bloke. Really can play the game. Hits and hurts. Well, you could tell by Hodges that he wasn't that impressed. He just walked like that. The Port Adelaide fans went up behind the goal, but Hodges knew that it wasn't there. So Port Adelaide 1-4, Central at 2-1, and the Bulldogs have a break by 3 points.
Scott Lee, 33 years of age. Oldest player on the field today, fellas. And I think he's going to go on again next year. Gets it to Schaefer, who pushes it through the midfield. This could be dangerous. It opens the field up for Port Adelaide. Carter gets it away to Fabian Francis, who took it on the second opportunity. Now to Darren Smith, who drills it in towards Brown, a toe hopper. Picked it up, gathered it in. Scotty Lee got him. Girdham flicks it out to Stevens. A long handball to McGowan running into space. Concedes ground. Back it goes to Hereda, who drills it wide, but North East dropping back into the hole in front of Jimmy Wine. Takes a courageous mark.
It was an awful dispatch, wasn't it? Because Hereda had it all set up and missed the target. Saywell, sweeping handball to Hereda. Chance to make amends for it, Brian. The kick is equally bad. That has to be said, a shocker.
Well, you just wonder how much that knock on the head's affecting him, because he normally kicks it pretty well.
Well, could be that, could be the occasion. But Mead's got it, and he's certainly started very well, Darren Mead. Swirled down, it goes across the interchange gate and out of bounds. So 27.5 minutes have gone, 2-1 to Central. Port Adelaide are 1-4, and Wind looks a little tender.
Having a great duel in the forward pocket with George Fiacci. Wind also changing on the ball.
Schaefer takes it out of ruck, gets away the kick. It hit Potter right on the chest. But there it is. It's quarter time, 28 minutes in. Central District at 2-1-13. Port Adelaide are 1-4-10. The margin is 3 points, Ken, and you've got to say that the Bulldogs, with the use of what, a 2 or 3 goal breeze, might have expected to be a little further in front.
Conway looks to be a little out of sorts to me up forward, David. He's led to a number of ball, but put himself well under the contest, but is having a great duel for Port Adelaide. Anderson on the members' wing against Stevens and Saywell. That really is, there's a lot happening in there. Also Brown and Ginniver. Wilson, who is tagging McGowan, are having a big influence on the game.
I thought Schwert was pretty good off half-back for Central District.
Playing on Daisy Ball Ace is probably on top there, having a good duel.
So you're watching the SANFL Grand Final live and exclusive on ABC Sport.
It's a grand final day, I reckon, because Port Adelaide have hit in very hard and they've made the best start against the Breeze. They'll have the enjoyment, if you like, the benefit of using it in the second term. They're just 3 points down. A very colourful day here, as you'd expect, on the 96 grand final. Nobody's more colourful than Stephen Wright's coach, Kerry.
Here we are in the Bulldogs Players and Wives pre-match luncheon. Let's go in and see what they're doing. Kerry Wright. This is the coach's wife. Kerry, you look fantastic. What have you done?
Oh, everything. You're not supposed to be here. This is our party.
Now, what have you done with all the girls?
Oh, all the girls have got Guernseys and
Girls, tune in. Now these are all the players' wives and girlfriends.
Girlfriends, yes.
Now, what have you done to them?
Well, differing degrees. This is Sarah, Monique, Tash, Joe, Jackie, Rosie, Sarah, myself, Kathy. Now, hang on. Amanda's hiding. Amanda, come out here. Amanda, Adrian, and Carol, and Joanne Wacker down the back.
What about this little guy right down here? This is a mini tater. This is Scotty Lee's son. Now girls, tell us, you confident your boys can win today?
Yeah, pretty confident.
Okay, now how hard are we celebrating today?
Oh, harder than the boys will be. They'll be out there doing all the hard work. We're in here celebrating.
Now tell me, did the coach give a no sex ban on the girls today? I mean,
yeah, we did, because he reckons he never gets it anyway, so they can go without for a night. So.
Now, what are the celebrations planned for tonight?
Drinking.
and celebrating. How did they feel last year when they lost? Is that the spur to win them, to get them through the game today?
Yeah, definitely. Ask the girls.
Yeah. Is there any chance that they can lose this one? So they're definitely going to win, you're absolutely sure and certain.
Yeah, positive, 10 goals.
All right, well, I suppose we're going to propose a toast to the Bulldogs. Up the Bulldogs.
Go, you dogs!
Oh, David Mackay looked like he enjoyed that no end. 2-1, Central District 13. Port Adelaide a 1-4-10, but keep in mind that Port Adelaide had to kick into that southerly, into the breeze in that first term. And some of the highlights included Well, they're probably lowlights, Mark Naylor, because Central had a couple go from the ground and it probably unsettled them.
It's pretty simple football out here. Port Adelaide just tacking the ball as hard as possibly they can. The Central players coming off second best at the moment. We saw 2 or 3 players come off with a bit of blood. One Port player has so far, that was Tim Geneva. All he needed was a band-aid to cover his cut.
A couple of costly misses, David. Cooks was one of them.
Yes, had he kicked that, I think just the emotion might have been riding with it. Now, at the other end, after he missed that, Hicks gets penalised for throwing the ball. Scotty Hodges kicks one of his incredible goals. He just makes a habit of kicking these very difficult ones.
Beautiful kick, wasn't it? We saw last week in the closing stages of the game against Norwood that he did just the same thing. We talk about misses. Well, this one was a definite miss, but wasn't even worthy of a point, despite getting one.
No, I just hope that at the end of the game's not decided by a point. Now, Cook was stripped there, but fortunately, it flicked out to Cotton, who finished off. His finishing is terrific.
Actually looks quite threatening, doesn't he, Cotton? Maybe a bit much pace for North East, but Paul North East has had a wonderful final series.
Yes, he's beaten Cotton once, Andrew Jarman twice, and if there's a defensive player of the year for Port Adelaide so far, he'd have to give it to North East, wouldn't you?
Hodges has, Hodges has one. Cotton and Vardy have a goal, just 3 so far. And as I said, Cotton looks pretty good. The statistics at the moment, see the kicks fairly even as you'd expect. The marks on top with Port Adelaide, handball's fairly similar, the free's fairly similar. And I felt during the quarter that Mead was doing better, but that tells a different story.
No, I think the thing about the ruck contest, it's where the ball goes. It's not that necessarily whether they get their hand to the ball, it's where it ends up with. And I think at this stage, the small men for Port Adelaide doing a little bit better.
Well, they were always going to settle better. Mark Naylor is still down there. I guess that Port Adelaide would have settled better. They've got so much more experience, and they've just shown that 30 minutes.
I've just been out to their quarter-time break. Coach Stephen Williams, pretty simple with his strategies. There isn't a strategy. All he was saying was, just work hard, fellas. Just work as hard as you possibly can and give space for Scotty Hodges, because he'll win the game off his own boot.
It's a fairly fundamental recipe, David, isn't it? Just work harder, but Port Adelaide have thrived on it for years and years.
That's their recipe. They don't deviate too much, and I think the tradition continues. Foss Williams to John Cale to Stephen Williams. It's not a bad line of succession, is it?
I just wonder what Stephen Wright would do as a normal matter of routine in his quarter-time address.
Quarter-time, we'll just sit back and we'll have a look at the facts and figures. How many times we've been into our forward line, how many times they've been into their forward line, the whys and hows. Then we'll sit back and say, all right, all the emotions over and done with it. Now we just have to stick to our game plan.
Green there, Roger Girdham. McGowan, Girdham and Cook, the heartbeat of the Central side. Mead has started very well. This is an important quarter for Central District. They have to hold sway on an ABC Sport. This is the start of the second term of the grand final.
Thanks, Triggy. 3 points the margin. Port Adelaide have the breeze. What can they do with it this turn? Schaefer wins the first one. It comes to ground. A clever kick forward was Potter into space. Schwert off a half-back flank will run onto it. Picks it up, handballs further forward. Borkwell gathers it in, claimed by Brown. Good work, Vardy. Back to Schwert, and it's a short kick, and it's marked. Did it go the required distance? Yes, said the umpire. And Tim Cook, 35 metres out on a very slight angle, will kick for Central's third goal.
And that was tremendous work from Potter. Craig Potter running hard off the side of the square. The tap was won by Schaefer. Potter was just able to connect it with the toe poke. It went to the advantage of Swert, and through perseverance, Cook now approaches for goal.
Timmy Cook, he's kicked 22 goals for the year. He'd make it 23. Won't get him any more important than that. And he gets his first for the afternoon. The Captain Cook, that is. He's not the captain of the side. Leads the charge.
And you can see here, just Borkwell, they're just trying to force it through. It's a good handball up from Vardy, who's having a good influence, and Cook there receives the mark. Dubious as to whether it gathered the distance.
Tim Cook's probably our best running player. He played state football. He's now getting up to 60 or 70 games, so he's one of our more experienced players, and he played very well in the finals last year, and we're looking for him to do the same job this year.
He is a very important player as Port Adelaide get an exit from centre square. Scott Lee physically working on Philip McGuinness as it goes across the line. Central District 9 points in front. And the centre breaks. 4 to Central, 3 to Port Adelaide. It's all fairly even. The tap outs are similarly even, so the game, it goes without saying, very much in the balance. The Port Adelaide defence just looks so good, though, doesn't it? It looks hard to penetrate.
And I think also the Central District defence is clearly, you can see his intent there, with Daniels just forcing that ball to the boundary to soak up time.
The boundary throw-in on that 50-metre line. Herrera's getting possessions. None of them have been particularly effective. That one was okay. Beautifully done by Schaefer. Smack on centre wing. He goes. The kick is looking for Vardy. It goes a little too long for him. Vardy held it up okay. Potter, if he gets it through, it'll be okay. He goes for holding the ball. The intention was clear, but the execution wasn't quite there.
Binky from half-back. McGowan front position. Hereda and Smith compete. Ricochets out to Lees, who's run down from centre half-back. A grubber off the ground to McGuinness. A quick handball. Rowan Smith wider was Carter. Plenty of run for the Port Adelaide side. Good tackle, holding the ball. And the advantage allowed to fly as Brenton Daniel comes away from half-back. Oh, big fly, Mead. He's good in that position, isn't he?
Having a tremendous duel, the physicality of Mead against the extra height of Schaefer.
Ginniver, a high ball to half forward. There's not much chance for a forward under that one. Scotty Lee marks it beautifully. Now, he was best on the ground in the second semi-final. He collected 26 kicks, 9 marks and 4 handballs. And he really did dominate that match. And today he's opened pretty well. Schaefer down. Cook tried to crash through. Ginniver just rock solid. Didn't let him get anywhere. Girdham to Stevens. Evades the tackle. On the right boot. Round the corner it goes. Jimmy Wine needs to work hard for this one. Oh, Biggie was beautiful. Committed himself. Vardy. 20 out on the left. Gets his...
The post?
No, he's hit the post. I was going to say he gets his second. It was a great build-up, wasn't it?
It was a great build-up, and Vardy looks so dangerous down there and playing in the forward pocket for the Bulldogs. You can see there he hits the front of that pack. He's able then to run on and crumb it. He balances himself up, but just brings it too far back.
Disappointment as Central District get a 10-point break.
I was thinking, fellas, about Vardy. You know, he had 3 groin operations before he was 20. For a lot of guys, they'd give up, wouldn't they? He just kept coming, and he's really turned himself into a great player.
This is Roger Delaney at half-back to half-forward. Good-looking kick and a good mark by Carter. It's going to be paid. Tell you what, there are some lads out there at the moment as Carter puts it on and loses it. I think he might have lost it. No, he's just being told to settle down. He was a bit lucky. There's some lads out there at the moment with some of that plaster around their head just quietly. Within about 35 it goes. McGuinness, dangerous in these positions. Wilson, 2-on-1. David Green, you're under the pump. Well done by Wilson. He gets back. He straightens. He hits at it, and he has just missed. Through for a behind. But he does look dangerous, Michael Wilson. 2 behinds for him. 9 points the difference.
Wilson playing in the centre of the ground on Ricky McGowan, the SNFL Player of the Year is awarded this season, who's got a big job and really needs to make the most of those, what will be rare opportunities to goal.
Scotty Lee, a perfect kick to Hicks. Running Scott Hodges wide. Hodges elected not to go with him in the finish. Well done, Brenton Daniel. Marks in front of Rowan Smith.
Gee, I like this young fellow. He really has applied himself well in the opening of this grand final.
Commits himself, doesn't he? Through the midfield. Well, who wanted that one? No one was really sure. Lee's in the finish, ball forward. McGuinness, he could be very crucial if he can run forward with the breeze. Oh, Scotty Lee and Scotty Hodges. What a contest that was.
And that's great courage by Lee, putting himself back into the spot. The front and square of where Hodges is going to be leading, filling up the space.
Green, David Green, his kick wasn't so good. Potter faked it on the handball and did okay. That kick is a shocking thing. Take that if you can down there. It just played into George Fiacci's hands, and so too Roger Delaney. To the skipper, little nippy Ginniver. Good-looking torpedo punt to the far side, and a great take by Saywell. There's plenty of hard work going on off the ball, isn't there?
Really is a good take. He positioned, twisted his body well, put his butt right into the oncoming Wilson, and just gave himself that bit of space to take a good mark with eyes on the footy.
Across the line on the far side, 3-2 to 1-5. We've played 6 minutes of this second term, and there's a fair amount of suspense around, as you'd expect. Boundary throw-in. Schaefer and Mead, we've not yet spotted Carruthers. All the emotion of Darryl Poole's suspension during the week, and it's easy to picture Poole being out there and stirring things up. That he's not there puts an enormous responsibility on Mead.
But Mead is a very, very accomplished player, whether he plays in defence or in the ruck. And many times he has led the Magpie first ruck division successfully.
Yes, he has. His form the last month or so hasn't been brilliant, though. Cook around the corner, knocked off by Lees. Hands are pretty good.
Just on that, David, I don't know that that matters so much coming into a grand final. I think players really can find that bit extra. Like, once they know how, I think they can produce it in grand finals.
Oh, Mead's final series last year was just terrific, so there's no reason for Stephen Williams not to expect him to do it today. Look at that, in close work. Ball lays on Girdham, Saywell, wide to Hereda, no to Schaefer. The long handball. Schaefer stands and delivers through half forward. Now it's a 3-on-1 contest out there. Conway did well to bring it down to Cotton. On the left boot, the kick was smothered. Northeast got an important touch to that one. Jimmy Wine, Binky in pursuit. Gets a good shepherd. Lifts the eyes, comes back around. Oh, it's a point.
Had Vardy.
A little unlucky there, I guess, for the Bulldogs. Vardy was positioned about 20 metres out directly in front, but I think Wine did the right thing. He was balanced, he was set, and he had a crack at the snags.
What about this fellow's form in the finals, Triggy?
Not a lot of possessions today, but he's blanketed Jarman.
Twice.
Yeah, so he's done pretty well. Darren Smith belts it forward, right into the path of Brown. Just caught on the wrong side. Across the top he goes to McGuinness. Now there a chance and will score through Treadway. Port Adelaide bounce back. Treadway's first, Port Adelaide second. The Bulldogs hold a very narrow margin of 4 points.
And isn't that a powerful goal? A 2-goal turnaround from the Bulldogs. You can see from the kick-out situation, it went the entire length of the ground through kick and disposal. Good handball, good clean possession.
Warren Treadway, I think he's going to be a superstar. He's a bit inconsistent at the moment, but I've really been on Warren this week just to keep competing, keep presenting himself, and I'm sure you'll see a big game from Warren Treadway.
Yes, Stephen, he presented himself beautifully, just positioned himself at the handball. 21 plays 17. It's a 4-point ball game, and for those people who tipped the Bulldogs, I'm not sure they reconciled really the great fighting spirit of the Port Adelaide side. Mead to half forward. Rowan Smith lost his footing. Brenton Daniel went hard at it, forced the issue. Now Treadway growing in confidence on the left boot into the pocket. D. Smith was there. That's Darren Smith. Green just forces the ball across the line and out of play. So we're 9.5 minutes in, second term, and the big crowd enjoying this contest. And you must say that Centrals and Port seem to bring out the best in each other. There really is a great rivalry growing. McGuinness harasses and forces a bounce.
There is a great rivalry, but it's a bit like taking on the schoolyard bully, isn't it? Port Adelaide have 33 premierships over their colourful career and colourful lifetime. Central District have none. But the thing about fronting up to the schoolyard bully is that Central District have a lot more confidence than they had this time last year. Certain amount of belief in themselves as the ball goes towards half forward, and Mead again takes it over. We've seen plenty of the boundary line so far in this game. And Potter, I think he's going to give it away. He is. Mead's going to get the kick.
You can see here Mead, you can see Potter clearly took him. The ball was over, not necessary.
Kick to half forward, and again Scott Lee drops in and takes another mark. Coming into his own, the agitator. 6 possessions.
He's 33. He spoke to his wife. She reckons he'll play on for another few years.
Well, you wouldn't argue with him if you wanted to. McGowan gets it off hands. The bottom of the pack is Wilson. Carter is there. Look at Girdham diving in over the top of that. And another free kick. Well, one of the things the umpires said was that they were going to be consistent. But I tell you what, they've just lost it a little bit over the last minute. As Carter gets one, and arguably a soft one on centre wing. He hits it to within about 45, perhaps 50 metres. Darren Smith in front. Brown offhand, so too McGuinness. Philip McGuinness starting to work his way into the game quite nicely. Hereda works back, well tackled by Brown. Dead ball.
Some of the tackling has been particularly special. We've seen Benke on the half-back flank here for Port Adelaide. We've seen Swert on the opposite half-back flank, just laying right up at the hips, and Brown there, he just wrapped up the Central District's players.
Physical courage has been exemplary too. I know you'll see greater commitment at a contest than you're seeing today. Mead, grandstand wing just inside the line, chips it around, just dispatches it forward. Rowan Smith unsettles Jimmy Wine, pushing the back, says the umpire. You didn't like that, Triggy?
Well, it just seems to me as though the complexion of the umpiring's changed momentarily.
Yeah,
they did let everything go for 30 minutes, and now everything's being picked up.
Yeah, they did say they wouldn't play any soft free kicks. I don't disagree with the umpiring in the first term. Girdham out to Potter towards the boundary line. Good desperation.
The point is that everything's so well set up, you just don't need it to be over-influenced.
Well, Stephen Wright mentioned in an interview earlier in the week that he just wanted to make sure the umpires were consistent. He didn't mind what they did as long as they let it go all day. Brown just inside the line, tunnel balls it. Jimmy Wine gets a kick forward. Carter, who's playing pretty well so far, picks it up, heads towards the line, quite content to go across there.
Robbie West, yes.
Yeah, Robbie West with the sunglasses and his wife. Now, an instrumental player in the middle last year's grand final, but has really had a difficult year after being hit at Victor Harbour and spent quite some time rehabilitating in hospital.
Certain amount of inspiration he's provided for them, though, being on the track. As the ball once more finds the boundary line.
I should explain for those people who are joining us from overseas, particularly, that Robbie West was told that he may not live back in March, and today he's here at the grand final. He's trained the last 6 or 8 weeks with the club, and he has been a source of great inspiration to this Port Adelaide side.
Central are working hard inside their half-back line. Oh, that's stiff. Straight from the boot of Lee onto the boot of Girdham, and it ricochet Rabbit straight across the ground. Now,
that was above the knee.
That from the thigh, you'd have to say, is barely out of bounds on the full. Harada shovels it forward. Wind. So too there is Green. Hicks under extreme pressure, the Central defence at the moment, but they're holding up okay. The kick was ordinary though. Lees, now Francis. Port Adelaide start the build once more. Half forward on the right-hand side sees Scott Lee just work back quietly and see it across the line.
I think we might mention about that out of bounds on the full decision. The umpire's under as much pressure as the players.
They make a change. Potter comes off and Peter Green comes on to half forward.
I think that's a good move. I think Carter's been well on top there, and Potter just been fumbling a little bit at crucial time, so he'll now sit in the dugout, have a good think about it, and come on a far better player for the Bulldogs.
Peter Green missed last year's grand final with a knee injury. Devastating for him. Potter gets instructions from the coach. What would that be about, Ken?
I think it would simply be, look, you're one of the most experienced players here on the park. We need you grabbing the ball first grab and hitting the man when the man is there to be hit, but not making something of nothing and giving unnecessary free kicks away. So sit back and absorb it, young fellows. Suck it in. Understand what it's all about. When I put you back on, you'll be a far better influence for us.
Daryl Borlase, key player also for Port Adelaide. It's hit forward. Ginniver, we can put the little ones in there. Propelled the ball forward another 40 metres. Hodges clashed with Lee. A few sparks there between the boys, former Crow teammates.
The bushfire started out there.
As we see Craig Potter just watching on and getting a breather. Ginniver has 7 kicks and 2 handballs, and you wouldn't be surprised with that because he's always so influential, particularly when it comes to early October.
Scott Lee is a great defender who at 33 years old seems to just get better and better. He's probably the captain of our backline and keeps things together and going the way we want them.
Yeah, he does keep them together. There he is again in the thick of things in the action. Treadray tries to pinch the ball out the back door, but Scotty Lee dives on top and holds the ball in the area. We're almost 16 minutes into the second term. 21 plays 17. There hasn't been any scoring for what, Stephen? 6 or 7 minutes. It's been a tight encounter.
The Treadray kicked one at the 8-minute mark, so it's been, as you say, it's very tight.
Yeah, you'd expect it, but I don't know that I would have expected such a low-scoring final. Ginniver kicks, Mead, big fly. Schaefer took front position. Rowan Smith tries to flick it out the back door. Hicks towards the line was good defensive work. He's been a terrific defender this year. Hicks, there he is on screen. Son of former Stirk great Darryl and former Central coach Darryl too. I suppose we might mention Mum. She had something to do with it, Trish, didn't she?
I'm sure she did.
Yeah.
Hicks was the 95 reserves Magarey medalist last year, so he's matured wonderfully as a player. Borlase. Around the body it goes. Mead, watch for Darren. Number 33. Schaefer got there in a nick of time. Anderson. Relatively inconspicuous Ando so far. McGowan. Saywell's working way back on his centre wing. Now Girdham. They've got a little break. The handball was tough to take. Cotton did it okay, then dispatched it very nicely on the left-hand side. Well done now by Saywell. His pass has been picked off. And you have to say, on balance, their entries to the forward line have been a disaster.
That's what has let them down, and we'll see if Port Adelaide are any better as they rebound.
Inside half forward now. Port Adelaide are a chance. You mentioned it as a 2-goal turnaround just a few moments ago when Treadray scored. And I thought for an awful moment there from Central's point of view it was going to be just the same. Here's Saywell. He's having to work back by demand, a long way back into the fence from his second centre wing. And again, the ball goes across the line. Bamford ready to get onto the ground, number 50. And look at that for a record. 1907 to 1996. Port Adelaide have won in the finals 93 times and lost 77. It's a good record.
It's a great record, isn't it? Anderson around the corner. Brown, half volley, did well. Scotty Lee just bustled him out of the contest, then followed the ball forward and dispatches the kick. Felled after he kicked it to Ken.
Yeah, perfect decision, and Jared Cotton, the recipient.
And Cotton plays on quickly. Now, this is where Centrals need to move it. They need a score here. Saywell inside 50, he can score. He can goal even, but comes back. 1 point the result.
You can see there David Brown just dragging Scott Lee down unnecessarily well after disposal.
I think the degree of difficulty was about 3.4 there. That was a lovely dive.
Perfect, wasn't it?
Using all his experience,
Not bad, Scotty Lee, is he?
So Rowan Smith's the player to come off after a couple of kicks. And his stint in the forward pocket, not particularly fruitful.
But I think it's a good move to bring young Bamford on, his electricity in the forward area, to capitalise on what has been, I guess, a dominant midfield at this stage by Port Adelaide in this quarter, particularly the last 10 minutes or so. Most of the play has been in the forward half for the Magpies.
So boundary throw in, deep in the forward pocket. 22 plays 17. Central District have a 5-point break. Balkwill missed it. Ginniver, another possession for him as he swept it across the top. Stevens is in there, another handball, 7th possession for him. Around the corner goes Saywell. They're just being a little lazy on it at the moment with their entries. If they can hit one, they'll be okay. Stevens, he's hit himself. Difficult to kick it under those circumstances. It's squeezed towards centre wing. Daniel needs to keep a play on it. He did very well. He kept it in the front spot, but he's gone for holding the ball.
And that's the value of Brian Lee, number 5 in screen there, the black and white jumper, playing at centre half back, but he has enormous pace, and he was able to match Daniel with leg speed to get to the drop of that contest.
Yes, once Daniel dived on it. Oh, Treadray, great grab, big fly at the 50-metre mark. Now, with the wind at his back, he'd be very confident kicking this. That's a good, honest leap.
That is a great mark. Arms well extended out in front of the eyes. The defender had no chance of spoiling that ball away.
He's only 18. I think he turns, he's a Christmas baby, isn't he? 24th of December, he turns 19. And that's a beauty. He gets a 2, that's his second. So he's the club's leading goal kicker as we go into half-time. We've just hit time on of the second term.
And that ball coming into the Port Adelaide attacking zone through poor execution into the Central District's forward line through Stevens. It was good pressure from the Magpie defence. Lees was able to race with good foot speed to get to the contest and tie it up, get a free kick, put a long kick into Treadray, who took a tremendous mark using his extra height to advantage, took the ball well out in front of his eyes and then finished with a magnificent long-distance goal.
So the Maggies are in front. 1 point the difference. Spoiled forward. Ginniver consents it, can't he? Just working a little bit harder still. Wine now. Port Adelaide have lifted, and this is where Central now have to lift with them, otherwise they get left behind. Francis got it from Lees, and Lees is playing magnificently at centre half back. Well done now by Francis, inside half forward. Watch for Hodges, he'll crash the pack. Spoils it forward. Brown, Winder's in there also. Brown dived over the ball with a certain amount of desperation. And Roger Girdham has a word to the umpire.
I don't know, fellas, that I've seen a bloke attack the ball in a final in any game like Scott Hodges does every time. Gee, he comes at it hard, doesn't he?
He runs through the line of it, and if anything's standing in his way, it gets steamrolled. Wind, and again a good tackle by Brown, who's put a few of them on. The tackles are 13 to Port Adelaide, 12 to Central, and every one of them have been of the highest order.
Right at the hips, tying the players up. And they really do need now, the Bulldogs, for their senior players to respond, at the likes of that through Girdham.
To Peter Green. Came onto the ground a short time ago. Plays it on now, doesn't waste any time whatsoever. Lees is in the best spot. Balkwill needs to lift.
I reckon Lewis has got to come on. Balkwill, something's wrong with him. That knock has really affected him. He's not playing like himself at all.
Well, they're just not getting a passage through there at the moment, and they could pay because Anderson goes around the body. The bounce favours Port Adelaide. Working back is Lee. And his heart was racing, I reckon, as he put it towards half-back on the left-hand side out there. He was really under some stress.
It's a good clearing kick. Wasn't unable to hit Green, but it still found the safety of the boundary line.
Throw in Port Adelaide, 1 point clear. Loose ball falls, Anderson flicks it over the top. Schaefer thumps it down to Jimmy Wine. Hurried kick, just a little toe poke towards the boundary line. Schwartz there, Cotton's there, and the boundary beats all players.
Bulldogs have just been a little unsettled, haven't they? They're not handling it cleanly, and we've already commented that coming into their forward zone, they're awry with the kicks.
Well, they're not getting anything from their key forward positions, either full forward or centre-half forward, and their midfielders are just fumbling at crucial times, so they really just need to settle that fraction.
Francis has been pretty special. Under pressure, that kick's been pushed wide. He's found plenty of the ball today. And this is Scotty Lee with the free kick. 8 kicks already. Finding plenty of the ball out of a back pocket. There's not a lot of blokes that enjoy those stats from that position. Through half back. Oh, Mead was good. Just bustled Schaefer under the contest. Forced it forward. Wilson, Geneva, 55 out. Floats it up with the breeze. Who's underneath this one? Scotty Lee. And it's off hands. A point.
And again, it's the extra physicality of Darren Mead as opposed to Schaefer. Schaefer, the beanstalk, the extra height, but Mead just bustling him out of position and forcing that ball forward. Geneva there running from the pack situation to the drop of that ball to the crumb and then put it into the goal square quickly.
The Scott Lee kick has a look at Schaefer, and that effort was just a little less than spot on.
Well, again, it's a hesitation. I'm sure he could have taken that ball on the half volley.
Scott Lee is under enormous duress back there, and he's really holding it together as a lone hand in a way.
And perhaps he should have taken it on the half volley as that ball goes there, but gee, it's a lot easier from up here, isn't it?
But it's all about attacking the football. And he didn't do it.
Fellas, I might remind you, none of us have ever been 200 centimetres. It's pretty hard to get down.
And never will be, by the way.
Well, I won't be one to criticise him, I tell you. That is the hardest ball of all time for a big bloke to try and grab. Scotty Lee swings it back. Hicks, well, flat-footed, it's not like him. He's a runner. And it was just laconic, wasn't it? And Fabian Francis steals it away. I didn't like that, just that approach. Francis, well, this guy's dynamite. He's played with Melbourne, he's played with Brisbane, and at 22 he comes back to Port Adelaide. Played in the grand final last year after only a handful of games, and now he lines up for a crack at it. Oh, Scotty, you are marvellous. You are unbelievable. That's what champions are. They do the important thing at the important time. We're 25 minutes into the second term, and Scotty Hodges gets his second.
And kicking against this breeze, 2 or 3 goals. Central District paid the price there for inefficient use of the football. Probably the 3rd occasion that Hicks has come out of defence and used it ineffectively. The rebound saw Francis able to put that ball to the goal square, and Hodges, with his just mercurial abilities, as we've come to know, put through a fine goal for Port Adelaide. Crucial goal.
Critical time for Central as Mead. An absolute study of concentration. Conway has gone into the ruck. 8 points the difference. Port Adelaide have the break, and Central, well, the bells are ringing very loudly for them now. They've been through this with the Magpies before. They've beaten them 4 times this year, but this is a quite different kettle of fish at the moment. Carter from half-back. He pumps it towards half-forward. Darren Smith is lifting as well. Herrera just got there in time. I thought a free kick might have come Port Adelaide's way, but the little things, like the smothers and the spoils, are just seeing Port Adelaide with the flow of the game.
Well, again, we've seen Brown to Carter to Smith, and Geneva just throwing himself in there. The seniority of the Port Adelaide players, just able to stand up when it really matters.
Stephen, you wrote in your newspaper article, the preview of this match, about the Port Adelaide surge. Well, we've just seen it, haven't we?
Well, they do. They literally put the foot to the floorboard with the accelerator, and they go, and they all lift another 10, 15, 20% of intensity, and if you don't go with them, you look at the scoreboard and you're 5 goals down.
It's an understanding. It's an opportunistic approach. Like, they understand that they've got the opposition by the throat, and they really have to make the most of that mile, and that's what it's all about. Geneva is a tremendous leader.
Well, a lot of the old style of thinking, if you like, is that you create a fight. You do something to stop the flow of play, but with Port Adelaide, from experience, it doesn't work that way. All you do is basically, you know, it's like putting a chair in the face of the lion. You really rile him up. What you have to do is to just work harder with them. They crash harder, you crash harder. They kick a goal, you kick a goal. Now they're at half-forward Central, and on that theory, they need the next goal, and they need it pretty quickly. Girdham, he'll set the example. but he's got nowhere to go. It squeezes across the line.
And it really becomes down to the belief factor here. The side that goes into the half-time break with the surge on very rarely is beaten in the Premiership.
Conway 33 in ruck. Mead, so the direct numbers opposed. Brett and Daniel over the top of the ball. Now it's 3-on-1 there. Centrals are working hard. Ball A's had the ball at the bottom of the pack, but 3 Central players gathered him in and made sure he wasn't going anywhere. We're almost 28 minutes gone. Port Adelaide by 8 points. We're coming to you live from Football Park in South Australia on ABC Sport. Conway thumps it down. It falls out the back door. Bamford 50 for Port Adelaide. His first man there. Around the corner with the kick he goes. Swert held his nerve. Oh, great one-hander, young man. What a ripper that was. Just plucked it out of the air and held it nicely. They need a goal, Centrals, right before the siren. They need to at least go in with something positive at half-time. Conway backed into the pack. Almost completed the mark. Green fights hard for it. Carter fought harder and came up with it. And now there's another bounce.
And with all the tough and uncompromising football that we've seen, we really have seen some special skills, haven't we? From Fabian Francis, Scott Hodges, and then from Stephen Swert. What a special one-handed mark.
James Wind comes from the ground. Simon Lewis replaces him, so they're going for a bit more height. Dead ball on the far side. There's Wind, who's going to the bunker.
Hasn't done a lot, Jimmy Wind. Has he?
That's it, and Central District have a big battle in front of them in this third term. 8 points the difference at half-time.
The Bulldogs kicking against the wind really did hold the Port Adelaide side for the majority of that quarter, but it was in the last 10 minutes when Port Adelaide erupted. Goals to Treadray and Hodges. They really did turn on the power burners. Led through McGuinness and also through Ginniver. I thought he was very, very special for the Port Adelaide side. Very tight, a lot of congestion, a lot of controversy, tough, uncompromising, but in the end, the Port Adelaide power was able to forge their way to a half-time lead of 8 points.
So at half-time on ABC Football, it's Port Adelaide 4-6-30. They've turned around a 3-point deficit at quarter time to lead by 8 points at half-time. Centrals are 3-4-22. You're watching the SANFL Grand Final live and exclusive to ABC Sport.
The action's not just inside the stadium, there's lots going on outside as well. There are little parties, barbecues in the car park, and David Mackay is just the bloke to get amongst them outside.
Premier, Mr. Brown, who's going to win the grand final today?
I think it'll be the Bulldogs this year. I think they've played better throughout the season, and it's about time we had a change. And I think Port, frankly, are probably a little more interested next year rather than winning this year.
I think Central District's by 28 points. Yeah, you fancy them? I do. I think they've been the best side all year, and they won the second semi-final. I think Port's have had a pretty hard run, so I think Central by 28 points. Good calling.
This is the Bulldogs. We chopped them out this morning and we barbecued them.
I think we're pretty close. Could go either way, but I think Central will get up.
Well, I have actually picked Central District's sentimental favourites in the fact that they haven't won a flag ever. Now, I know Port would like to win because they're going to put power next year, but I'm picking Central.
The Bulldogs are going to pluck the Maggies today!
Obviously the best side, but for the football competition, it'd be good to see Central Districts win.
No worries about Macca. This year the Dogs, no problems at all.
I know, KG.
I'm going for Port Adelaide. I think I'm going because of their experience in grand finals, and I think this will be grand final, not Premiership number 35.
And of course the other thing with KG is that they won't speak with him the next couple of weeks for his 5AA Sports Show. I'm going for Centrals. I think they've done the right thing.
Just about created a ride out there, those blokes, didn't they, when they got things going? But KG went for Port Adelaide. At the moment, his money looks pretty good.
Well, a tremendous second quarter from the Magpies where they really did respond to turn a deficit into an 8-point advantage. They lead at the moment. They are 4 goals, 6-30 to the Bulldogs, 3 goals, 4-22.
Yes, 8 points the difference in the Magpie rooms at the moment. Darryl Poole just there at the bottom of frame on the left-hand side in the middle, bending down now, and he'd be bitterly disappointed with this. He missed the 94 grand final through suspension. He's now missed the 96 grand final through suspension. But the way Port Adelaide is shaping up, it's not just the 8 points, it's the way they're going about their business that looks so good. And I guess that at half-time, Stephen Wright, with all the routine in place, Stephen Williams, I should say, would be feeling pretty good about it.
Yeah, we come in the rooms, into the little coach's room to start with, and we just talk a little bit about that second quarter. The things we did, the things we didn't do. Then it's a matter of just getting out there, getting your feet up, having a drink, replacing those fluids, relaxing the body, but just concentrating, still keeping a real firm mind on what's to be done in the third quarter. Being the Premiership quarter, it's the one that we know if we can get out there and win the third quarter, it'll go a long way to winning the game.
Why is it the Premiership quarter? Why is the third term the one that everybody points to?
Well, I think you've got all the emotion out of the way, the fumbles, the jitters, and you really can have a good think about it. You can console yourself in there at half-time, get hold of what it's all about with your teammates, and then come out with every bit of confidence and belief that you have to really put something on the board in the important third quarter.
Indeed. Sensational day weather-wise here for the 96 grand final. We've had a pretty wet winter, though. One thing it hasn't stopped has been some of the great marks, the high flyers of 96. Not playing, a hamstring injury for him, and I believe not even a part of the reserves premiership, but disappointing for him. Disappointing for Central at the moment. They can't get a key forward, Ken, to get into action.
No, they really do need some response through Flood being absent, Wakeland off the ground injured. They really need something special now from Big Conway and from their other key forwards. Borkwell. Really, they just haven't had a contribution, and they really have to lift in that area.
They've got Simon Lewis on standby, who's gone onto the ground during that second term, but what you're getting at is that Conway, at probably 200 centimetres of him, has to stand up and be counted.
Well, he hasn't, I don't think, had a kick yet. To my way of thinking, he has had very little influence on the game. Hodges has kicked 2 goals. It's a full forward for Port Adelaide. Conway now has to stand up. Sure, his midfield players, such as Girdham, such as McGowan, such as Cotton, Vardy, Cook, these players have to deliver the ball in a better fashion into the forward line, but the big man has to stand up now.
One of the things we've seen throughout this year is that Port Adelaide uncharacteristically have been rolled in the last quarter 3 or 4 times. As we recheck this scoreboard at half-time, 3-4 Central District, they trail by 8 points. Port Adelaide are 4-6. But that is a point worth remembering, that Port Adelaide have been rolled over in the last term on several occasions.
Throughout the season, but again, a grand final is different. Tim Cook, he was tremendous early, faded out in the second quarter, but a very good player. But they will need a response from the likes of Cook and the likes of McGowan.
Mark Nally, that goal was at the 32nd mark of that second term. They couldn't get another one on the board, so the entries were few and far between as well.
Just Port Adelaide are putting far too much pressure on that Central District side at the moment.
McGuinness has been okay. I thought he lifted his work rate through the second quarter, and Scott Lee has been, well, he stood out like a beacon backward of centre.
Well, Lee has been well in the best players for the Bulldogs, along with Swirt and Saywell, I think, has been outstanding.
David Brown, again McGuinness, and Tredray with his second sausage roll for the term, finished off beautifully there. Mark Naley, he's an exciting young player, but when you add him to the presence of Hodges, it's a good-looking forward line.
Just look at that mark there. I mean, that's just a natural leap. He's a very talented, very athletic player. And really, I mean, next season, Port Power are going to have his services, and he will be exciting. As you said, he's only 18 years old. Just wait till he fills out a little bit more, a bit more experience, he will be excited. But Francis there, he has been a difference on the wing. He really has been electric for this Port Adelaide side.
Francis has been special, along with McGuinness and Ginniver, the captain of the Port Adelaide side. Lees and Carter across half-back, but the Bulldogs do need a lift from their forwards.
Well, that's demonstration of that. Cotton at half-forward has one. Cook as a rover has one. Vardy as a forward pocket has one. So their key players not really amongst it yet. Treadray and Hodges a couple apiece. Statistically, close with the kicks. Pretty close with the marks. The handballs almost dead even. The free kicks very close as well. You couldn't ask for much more than that, could you?
Well, there really isn't anything in the game. The one-on-one matchups all across the ground are magnificent. The centre field, sure, they've got great players. Port Adelaide, Francis, McGuinness, Ginniver, and for the Bulldogs team, there's good players as well, but it is the key forwards that are the difference in the game. You've seen Hodges and Treadray with two apiece, combining with Smith, Darren Smith, to make a very strong three-pronged attack. The Bulldogs are getting nothing from their key forwards.
Just a quick one to you, Nails. What did they look like when they came out? Either side give you an impression one way or the other?
Port look very determined that they're going to win this game. Central District, the same sort of feeling. I mean, they've kept tight. They're fairly close together. I mean, senior player in Scott Lee and also Jimmy Wine, they're the ones using their voices out there at the moment.
Mark Nailey on boundary side. Ken Sheldon's in the special comments chair, and David Mackay this second half, the last half of football in Australia. On ABC Sport, 8 points of difference, promises to be fantastic.
You bet it does. There's Rob Schaefer in screen, ready to launch himself in ruck. Mead will come from the left of screen. Number 33 for Port Adelaide. He's filled Daryl Poole's blitz admirably. It falls to Stevens. Out wide is still Vardy. A long bomb into the full forward zone. Into the pocket it goes. Binky at the back. Delaney mops up. Handballs it astray. Wakeland's in a forward pocket now, fellas, by the way. They're obviously looking for some goal scoring ability, and it's worked already because Girdham's marked 35 out directly in front.
Yes, that's the obvious move. Wakeland, amazing what the doctors can do in the half-time breaks. He left the ground injured in the first quarter. He's come back on now from defence into attack and has responded immediately. The big move, Vardy to the wing, Wakeland to the pocket.
Only kicked 6 goals for the year, the skipper. This is an important kick. Oh, it's through. That's the team lifter that the skipper needed, and he's got it.
What a captain's goal.
Roger Girdham is a great leader. He's the first person in and under the packs. He's got great running ability, and probably his best asset is his tackling.
What a magnificent goal. Roger Girdham, number 10 in screen, the captain's goal.
Sixth and McGarry with 11 votes. He kicked 1 goal, 1 in the second semi-final against Port. I think that one was a very important goal. Port Adelaide claimed the third quarter as their own. McGowan to Harada through half forward. They trail by 2 points. Can they get another quick one? And edge ahead.
Well, that's the perfect start. They talk about the Premiership quarter, the third quarter. The Bulldogs have opened with first blood in each of these first 3 quarters. Vardy kicked 1 in the opening minutes of the first quarter. Cook responded in the opening minutes of the second. And now Girdham with a goal there.
Vardy again, he's been pivotal in a couple of forward thrusts. That one's out of bounds on the full. Just a little too much pressure. That's what Port Adelaide apply. And I don't think they'll be making, again, the same mistakes they made in the third quarter against Central of the second semi-final.
There's no doubt about that. They realise that this game is for keeps, and every bit of energy you've got comes to the forefront here.
Vardy on the left towards full forward. Conway can't get near the ball today. Rogers blanketed him.
Yes, he really does need to respond. Coach Stephen Wright has done the right thing. He put the big fellow into the ruck in midway through the second quarter, trying to get him some touch, some confidence, trying to get him into the game. But he needs to respond. Number 33 for the Bulldogs.
He had 1 handball to half-time. Conway. He really does need to find the ball, doesn't he?
David Brown's work rate hasn't resulted in a lot of possessions, but he's been very effective. Short pass, Delaney gets Wilson. An enormous expectation and a buzz around the ground. Wilson with his 7th possession. He's on half-back. Kicks it to centre wing. The big leap is with Mead. He couldn't quite complete the mark. Ginniver's there, so too is the boundary. Girdham, such an influential player. Schaefer, look at that for a torpedo punt off 1 step. Does it stay in? I don't think it has. It's gone across the line, but they wouldn't kick it back that far in a fit. It's travelled probably 70 metres. Robbie Schaefer 7 possessions and 12 hit-outs. And Wilson will have another kick from the same spot.
Schaefer's having a great duel with Mead in first ruck, and Wilson also having a great duel tagging Ricky McGowan.
Great take, Schwert. Hasn't he been good in the air today? Taking a couple of spectacular grabs on the left, brings it towards centre half forward. Delaney spoils it, falls down to Cotton. He palms it down further still. Peter Green couldn't get it clear. Brown couldn't get the kick away either. McGowan got him. Brown went off the ground in the finish. Hereda picks it up under pressure. Gang tackle. Smith and Fiarchi got him right in the middle of the field. We're 4 minutes in and it's a 2-point ball game. We're 4 minutes into the third term.
And there's just great pressure out there. You can see it just coming from all angles, and the players really have to settle now and just keep forcing themselves. Hard at the ball, hard at the man.
McGowan, hands and knees. The reflex is pretty good. Schwert, his handball is also good, and if Cook can squeeze it out there in business. Vardy just waited, probably waited a little too long. 45 and closing. He hits at the northern end and has kicked it. Central in front by 4 points. Since the first time at the 19-minute mark of the second term, with Vardy second, the Bulldogs are in front.
Vardy playing his wing in a magnificent fashion, shifted out there at the half-time break by coach Stephen Wright, and he has responded. He's had 3 possessions so far in this quarter, and none more crucial than that one for the Bulldogs to hit the front. A fine goal on the run, well balanced from a good distance.
Well, I suspect a couple of blokes rode off Central at half-time. Well, they're 2 great sides, and no doubt the 2 best in the competition are playing out in the grand final. Hereda missed it. Wilson, whose form in the finals has been terrific. A high ball. Who's underneath this one? Scotty Lee. Great strength. Read the ball beautifully in the air, and it was swirling around into the breeze. Now he chips it in short. The skipper, Girdham, who played last year's final series, fellas, with a couple of broken ribs and didn't tell anybody. Green. Through the midfield, pressure. It's a funny thing. Rowan Smith applied it, and it falls to Mead, and then further still to Borlase. And look at this, Darren Smith couldn't quite mark it. Great pressure back there in defence by Brenton Daniel. Scotty Lee evades the tackle, chips it out.
Where's the free for the Port Adelaide player? Darren Smith was run into. I mean, really, it's...
Well, we said no softs. Well, that's a free. We did say there was going to be no soft free kicks. The umpires have been true to their word, except for a short period in the second quarter.
Well, I think Darren Smith would consider himself extremely unlucky. Made the ground, played it beautifully.
It's great experience by McGuinness here. So he turned his back. Look, boom, earned the free kick, just very clever.
To the square, Schaefer. Port Adelaide in numbers, so too Central. David Green would be hoping this one doesn't go through. It was his error in the midfield. To Wilson. I think he just handed that one over towards Mead. They're in trouble though. Central there with numbers. Ginniver can make something out of nothing. He's beautifully tackled. And hasn't that been a #1 feature of the day?
And that's what it's all about. You can see Tim Cook, number 6 for the Bulldogs, just really wrap him up by the round the hips, strong arms, and drag him to the ground.
Bounce down just inside the 50-metre line. Stephen Schwert is there.
And listen, trivia quiz for you. Who's applied the most tackles at Central District this year? Tim Cook.
Yeah, Tim Ginniver, the club captain, 6 grand finals to his credit, and hasn't let the side down in any of them. He's the heart and soul of Port Adelaide, and we're looking for his fight around the packs to really bring us home.
Free kick inside half forward. Darren Smith. The veteran on game 299. Hits it within about 15 metres, and Hodges comes out and takes a chest mark. The passage was made for him. He cut a little path through that forward pocket, and a chance to put Port Adelaide back in front.
You can see on the replay, just great play from Tim Ginniver. Number 1, you couldn't quite see him in screen, but he stopped Ricky McGowan from getting back into the flight of that football. A little 1%er by Ginniver, allowing Hodges free flight at the football.
Hodges has 2. Couple on the mark. Hodges doesn't miss many from there, and he hasn't missed that one. Port Adelaide are back in front. The lead changes once more, and the Port Adelaide fans are rejoicing, at least temporarily. 8 minutes have gone in the third term.
And Darren Smith playing centre-half forward for the Magpies, but you can just see there, just out of screen, Ginniver protects Stops McGowan from getting back into the flight of that ball, allowing Hodges to take the easiest of chest marks. That's great team play and absolute magnificent leadership from Girdham. Responding with an equally as good a goal is Scott Hodges.
Scotty Hodges, 113 for the year, puts Port Adelaide 2 points in front. Mead takes it out of the middle. To half forward goes the kick. Brown sits underneath it. Oh, he stole it. He really wanted that one. He had his name written all over it.
Here's the surge.
That's what happens when you really want the football.
So David Brown, 60 out, floats it up. Schaefer sits underneath it, gets there with a chest mark. Scotty Hodges decks him.
Oh, he's changed his mind.
He's paid it against Schaefer, and rightly so. Good acting by Hodges. But he fell in hook, line and sinker, Schaefer here. The physicality of Hodges has been enormous.
Well, you watch this. Schaefer gets up. Scotty Hodges stands in front of him. Yeah, well, that's not on, is it?
Totally unnecessary.
Hodges now.
Gee, if he kicks this, crikey.
3. 1 in the first, 1 in the second, 1 in the third. You could just about put the old glasses down, as they say, as he goes for 4 and hits it. That is extremely costly, and the Port Adelaide players make sure that Robert Schaefer knows all about it. We're on the doorstep of 10 minutes into this third term, and Port Adelaide get a break.
And you just might think that that could become the pivotal point of the match, that particular incident.
Well, there's only one man that can respond now to make the difference. He kicks the player that can get first tap, first hand on the ball from this centre bounce. And do the Bulldogs need to respond with a quick entry into their forward line with their other key tall player in Conway responding for them. These two big men now really have to stand up.
Schaefer thumps it down. You can just feel for him. Wilson round the corner. I think there was a poke in the eye behind play. Girdham was. He got a poke from Schwert. Just a little finger in the eye. Stevens tries to go through. No possession and the free kick. Now they need to surge, the Bulldogs. They need to come again. Yeah, just flicked him inadvertently as he ran towards the ball and poked him in the eye. They can be very dangerous. Oh, Northeast at the back of the pack. Lee's held the pack coming at him, and Northeast read it beautifully. Now switches it towards the grandstand side. Fabian Francis goes to ground. At the back, it's Rowan Smith mopping up the crumbs. Chips it forward to Carter. He's got a paddock. Now where's Scotty Hodges? Now he comes. There's the kick. And there's Scotty. Dropped it. Well, unheard of. Although I think he might have the sun in his eyes. And the crowd give him a big raspberry.
Well, if you watch very carefully, Hodges then puts down Daniel. And in keeping with the last decision, you'd have thought Daniel would have got the kick.
No, he didn't. He plays around here. This is just... there's nothing in that at all.
Girdham attacks the ball. Wilson, Brown, they've been excellent players. So too has Francis. Stevens has got his hands full. Francis chip kick finds Mead.
It's composed, Francis, isn't he?
Too far out to score, Darren Mead, but Hodges is becoming the danger. I don't think there's any doubt he was looking into the sun just a moment ago. Long, searching, penetrating kick. It holds up for the flyer, Darren Smith. Too many eyes on Hodges, and you've got to ask the question of the central tall men, where were they? Weren't they attacking the ball?
That is just a glorious mark. Yeah, he's appreciated that and Hodges, the two other tools, were held up in heavy traffic, and he's just launched himself from the side of the pack to take one of the all-time great marks. That is a magnificent mark in the context of this game.
Yeah, I agree with you, Ken. I think you'll find that's... you can't belittle the central defenders on that one. It was just an outstanding athletic mark by D. Smith.
From 15 metres out, not a problem. Smithy gets another one. It's his first. But Port Adelaide are on the march. 7-6 to 5-4, 12 and a half minutes gone. The man on screen, very important.
Darren Smith probably struggled mid-year, but since being put back to centre-half forward, he's just done those things that we've come accustomed to him during finals time, and has never let the side down in the grand final. I'm sure today will be no exception.
And he doesn't let him down there either. A 14-point buffer in favour of the Magpies. The Port Adelaide surge comes at the Bulldog. Can they withstand it? The Central District side. Delaney's kick is smothered. It ricochets forward into the Central's forward area. Lees and Borkwell. Borkwell needs to lift. He needs to get on top of Lees. Cook handballs it away. Borkle provides a contest. McGuinness was good at the bottom of the pack, grubbers it to the line, and a good option.
I think it's a free kick backward for a late tackle or a heavy tackle, unnecessary tackle if you like, on Tim Cook.
Now that Bulldog bench doesn't look too pumped as Cook towards full forward. Schaefer at the bottom held his footing. Mead went through, crashing through. Now it's Carter over the top of the ball, dragged off it. Girdham crashes through, and there's a bounce.
With the extra height of Schaefer down there to take this ball up situation, they really need to be able to get a player clear for a snapshot of goal, whether it be the tap, the handball to the running player, or just a tap to space. But something has to happen from this ball up situation for the Bulldogs.
Roger Girdham's called for the runner. I don't think it's because he's injured. I think he wants to make a point. He wants something to happen out there, taken by Francis inside the defensive 50-metre line.
And I make the point, what's the use of tapping the ball to the congestion when it's in your forward line? You've got to get it to the space to get a goal, manufacture one.
There's a top.
The Magpies are doing everything right. Treadray's got it, just backward of centre wing on the far side. Really does have a pair of Acme jumping boots, this boy. He gets off the ground, he can run quickly. And his impact on this game has been pretty good. A couple of goals. McGuinness, reflex. Also there from Wilson and Ginniver. Seems to have recovered okay. And Roger Girdham there, number 10, getting up for Central. Just a bit sore in the hand, I think. There's an awful workload on his shoulders at the moment. He needs a few of his buddies to get into the business as well.
Now there's the Bulldogs' grand final record. They played in one grand final last year. They went down by 48 points to the Magpies. If my recollection was right, there wasn't much in it. I think it was 5 points in it at half-time, and they got belted in the third quarter when Port Adelaide kicked 5. Can Port Adelaide do it again? Fabian Francis goes forward, handballs off. Brenton Daniel back. Scotty Stevens received a good shepherd. Brings it back inboard on the left boot. D. Smith just forces Harada under the contest. Ball lays a high one through half forward. Who wants this one? And Port Adelaide doing everything right. Treadray on the 50-metre line takes a chest mark and will go back and kick towards goal.
And it's Darren Smith again, just with that extra physical presence, able to push Harada off the ball at centre wing, then putting the ball eventually coming back into Treadray, the youngster, to have a shot from 50 out.
He's kicked 2. He averaged just a little over a goal a game in his 8 previous games. This one's a high floater. Mead comes 3 deep, couldn't quite get there. Schwertz paid. The man in front gets the benefit. Plays on quickly to Hicks. Now he'll need to provide some run. He looked a little laconic to me late in the second term. Well, I'm not sure what he was doing with that. Borlase just took an easy chest mark, ran onto it, pushes it wide to Rowan Smith, and Port Adelaide are building.
Well, they're building that net so well. Out of the last line of defence, the Bulldogs are really having trouble finding one of their teammates.
They're kicking quickly. That's the problem. They can't get any run and a bit of freedom, and that's great to credit to Port Adelaide, because their forwards, their half-forward line, are putting enormous pressure on Central and won't allow them to run out. And it just allows Port Adelaide to sit back and read it. McGowan, not normally as influential, not as influential as normal. Bounce down. Out the back to Lee, who's done everything in his power to make things happen. There's the run. Now is an opportunity if they can find one. Probably couldn't have been any clearer that time. Picked out by Borkwill. Andrew Borkwill, long way out, right in the heart of Football Park. Wrong error, Andrew, absolutely wrong. Caught cold, and it's put enormous pressure on Saywell. Well, they're lucky to get a free kick with Cook. But inexperience from Borkwill, it just took too long. Port Adelaide don't waste that sort of time. In it goes. Chance now. Port Adelaide there with the numbers. Delaney, Fiacci, beautifully done by Cotton. Now there's a chance. But Port Adelaide again with the numbers, and the Maggies work it out. Mead, far side, happily takes it across.
Girdham off, Potter on for Central District. And I think you'll find Girdham's got a dislocated finger. There it is, little finger. He caught it in that when he came crashing into the pack in the forward line about 4 or 5 minutes ago.
You saw one if it's broken the skin.
Yep. And he stayed out there. He's courageous, isn't he? Good Jimmy Wine on the left. It's back. He got it from Cook. Oh, it's a point. They needed a goal then, didn't they? 31-year-old rover from Fitzroy. Peter Green, who had a stint with Carlton and the Swans, made an impact last year with the Bulldogs here in South Australia. Today gets a run in his first grand final.
And that's what he'll need to do here today. The Bulldogs trailing now by 13 points. They really do need an impact player, someone to be able to do something from nothing like Vardy was able to do in the opening minutes of this third quarter.
Well, Girdham's the impact player, but he's off. Wilson, far side, Benke. Short pass, he just held it up nicely, but didn't quite find the target. Ginniver again in tandem with Francis. And watch this. Puts the accelerator down and away he goes. Left leg's beautiful. Finds, they didn't quite find Rowan Smith, but Rowan gets it back. Not enough pressure. Too many errors. Now Stephen Carter from 45 metres out. Thumps it up towards the goals, and Hodges right on the line. Borkwell takes it across, but the warning signs are there, aren't they?
Well, the percentages are working in favour of the Magpies. They certainly aren't making the same amount of mistakes, errors, as the Bulldogs. They are cleaner in possession, and they are more efficient when they are using the ball into their forward line.
Scotty Lee from full back, straight down the middle. He's signalling his intention to his teammates. Schaefer got nudged under the ball. Borlase feeds it to Rowan Smith. He's pretty good in this position. Pushes in towards Hodges, and Hodges has got it. Play on, said the umpire. Didn't hold it long enough, and he pleads for the mark.
Scary thing about that, Ken, is that Central just didn't chase off the contest. Not even a whimper there, and that is a very worrying sign.
Well, their captain is off the ground. Here's the man which is renowned for lifting them in these times of crisis. Other senior players here have to seize this opportunity. They have to stand up and make something happen.
Scotty Lee again. Mead missed it. Schaefer tries to flick it forward. Hereda pushes it further forward. Look at the desperation of Fabian Francis. He's probably best on ground at this stage of the game. Green bustles through, gets through the traffic too. Pushes it wide. Anderson, he's been quiet for a while, but his first term was fantastic. Wilson, a hurry kick, and it's a short one. Darren Smith missed it. Ginniver doesn't. Mops it up, out the back door to Brown, and Brown goes short where he finds Hodges.
And I was going to say, David, look at the numbers, the black and white numbers at that contest at centre-half forward. They are clearly just outworking the Bulldogs at this stage of the game. They are in full flight.
4 goals won to Scotty Hodges today.
Damien Hicks is being let down, isn't he? Number 14 for Central. It's a big enough job already when you've got to stand the full forward champion.
I was going to tell you that Hicks has done a great job this year. Hodges got 2 points in the round 2 game. Then he kicked 3-1 in round 11. The best he's got is 4 goals 4 in round 20 when they went down by 10 points, Port Adelaide, and 3 threes kicked in the second semi-final. So if he puts this one through, it's his best tally against the Bulldogs this season. And we're 21 minutes into the third term. And if this is the Premiership quarter, then Port Adelaide have won it comprehensively so far. But that kick, well, inexplicably, was missed by a mile.
Well, the man is only human. It is a difficult shot for goal, kicking into the teeth of the breeze as Scott Lee clears for the Bulldogs.
To the far side. Stephen Schwert is there. Scott Hodges, didn't he chase? He's at half forward, almost centre wing. The chase was terrific.
So say, Ken, I think a few Port Adelaide fans will disagree with you. They don't think he's human. They think he's superhuman.
Well, he's won so many games off his own boot for the Magpies over the years.
Tim Cook gets it from the ruck contest, goes around with the left leg. It goes higher, then it goes longer. To half forward. Underneath the ball is Peter Green, another one who needs to lift for the Doggies. Offhand, Stevens. McGowan is in there. Peter Green. The Port Adelaide tackling, pressure and harassing has been outstanding in this third term. And it results in this sort of free movement forward from Brown. Off the back, Green. Pressure's on, isn't it? Hicks probably should have gone for holding the ball. Daniel needs to go off the deck, I reckon, just to clear some space. But they close it down bit by bit.
It's the extra physical presence of the Port Adelaide machine. The body-on-body contest. They are winning the majority of the 50-50 contests. And that is the reason the ball has spent so much time in the Magpies forward zone.
We've not seen anything of Crothers, as we saw him get up off the bench a moment ago, the former Geelong ruckman. Darren Mead's been sensational in ruck. But I have to say that this just reminds me of sitting here 2 years ago when Port Adelaide had taken the hard road in against the Eagles.
Yep.
They weren't
The Eagles
tipped.
were red-hot favourites.
Red-hot favourites. And Port Adelaide came back from nowhere in the last term. This time around, maybe they've done it in the third.
Scotty Hodges kicked 5, and Jason Spear still has nightmares. The fullback of Woodville West Orange. Stevens to Saywell is good play. Scotty Lee on the left to Green. Northeast wraps him up, just holds him off the contest, and the umpire said he dropped the ball.
The correct decision, clearly in full view, was the umpire, and it was a soft effort by Green. Northeast just tough and tenacious.
Well, he hasn't had a lot of possessions, Northeast, but what he's done has been hard bullocking work. Anderson through, handball out wide. Rowan Smith, short kick. Hodges. Well, he didn't miss that one, did he?
No contest.
Now, the sun has died, so he didn't have the sun in his eyes, which he did earlier. And Rowan Smith measured the kick beautifully. Scotty's got 4 goals too.
Smith playing in the pocket alongside Hodges with McGuinness. It really is a tremendous full forward line for the Magpies.
You really have to feel for Hicks, don't you? There's not a single thing he could do about that sort of entry.
No, but at the end of the day, it's still going to say that Scott Hodges has kicked now 5 goals. Look at that. That is an unbelievable kick. Well,
you're talking the umpires into it, or did you see that?
From here, it looked like a goal, but I think the ball deviated after it went past the post, perhaps. But from a distance, it looked a beaut kick.
You can just see there, lace out from Rowan Smith. Good composure, good understanding of what's going on, and Hodges equal to the task.
17 points the difference. Central District have an enormous workload in front of them. Short pass goes to Schwert, who stands his ground. Central District supporters just be buoyed, though, by the fact that in round 20 of this year, as Cook gets it, the Bulldogs won by 10 points, having been down at three-quarter time by 31 points. So they can come back. They are fresh, but they're going to be coming against the breeze. Here's Anderson. And as Ken Sheldon said at three-quarter time, grand finals are a different ball game. Just messing around now, the Maggies. Swooping on it was Rowan Smith. Now Borlase, can he drag it back far enough? I think he has, but Central take it across the line.
And isn't Darren Smith having a big influence on the game? He, along with Treadray and Hodges, the 3 key tools in the Port Adelaide forward line, each having a big influence.
Craig Potter, not a big day by his very lofty standards. He's been a great competitor. Breton Daniel, a grubber. Anderson and Saywell. That's been a fair battle, Ken. Those 2 players.
On centre wing, both having a lot of possession. Saywell with his electric pace. Anderson with he just accumulates possessions. You don't necessarily see so many, but he is always around about.
Yeah, Saywell 14 possessions, 8 kicks, 6 handballs. We'll come to Anderson in just a moment as that ball punched again towards the line. And Anderson's had 8 and 7, so they're pretty even.
I think perhaps Saywell has certainly covered more ground than Anderson, but Anderson perhaps gets his more in tight. So there's a contrast in wingman. On the other side, you've of course got Fabian Francis, who has been electric, and Scott Stevens will really need to lift his rating there, because I think there's a great dominant factor coming out of Port Adelaide from that centre wing position.
Rick McGowan took it from the free kick in the ruck contest. Peter Green pokes at it. And Darren Meads there on the back play. Look at that for some short steps from the big man. Just carried across the line on the trip, though. And it goes across. So we've got 5-5 the Bulldogs. Port Adelaide is 7-10. Three-quarter time is 9. It's 17 points the difference.
And also in the middle of the ground, I think Wilson, number 15 for Port Adelaide, is curtailing the influence of Ricky McGowan. McGowan usually has probably 20-25 possessions to his credit. Probably would only be around about 15 at the moment, so doing a good job as Wilson.
He actually averaged 28 possessions through the year, so he has done a great job.
Vardy 60 out, bombs it long, it's wide, it's a point. Margins back to 16 points as Central advance to 5-6. Port Adelaide is 7-10. We're 26.5 minutes into the third term.
Stephen Wright, who coached Clarence in Hobart to 2 premierships out of 3 grand finals, and he is working overtime on the magnetic board at the moment.
In crisis mode.
Well, he would be working out the moves that he would make at three-quarter time. He'd be trying to pinch a goal here now, perhaps by mismatching a Port Adelaide defender, either with height or pace, but three-quarter time he'd be setting himself up for.
Fiacci on centre wing. This is danger signs when this starts to happen. Delaney and Fiacci start to get balls at half forward. That means they're starting to run, and they're running unchecked. Brown, deep in that forward pocket, bends it back around the shoulder, but it's been smothered and goes across the line. 27.5 minutes gone, and Central would love to regroup now. Peter Vivian on the left there. Over 300 games for the Central District veteran, a chairman of selectors. And between them, if they get out of this, they will have done very, very well.
Girdham at half back. Delivers a long one forward. Vardy nudged under the contest by Fiacci. And there it is at three-quarter time. The margin in favour of Port Adelaide, 16 points.
And it really was the premiership quarter. The Bulldogs have turned it and really let it slip there by, well, Port Adelaide were able to double their lead from 8 points out to 16. Hodges kicked 2 and Smith kicked 1, and I think it was those three key forwards combining with Treadray, the three of them, Hodges at full forward, Treadray in the pocket, Smith at centre-half forward, I think have been pretty special for the Magpies. Fabian Francis continued his magnificent game on centre wing, and he has been outstanding. Tim Ginniver also tremendous. Brian Lee's a bit quiet at that stage. Mead in ruck, great influence with his physicality. Whilst for the Bulldogs, Swert continued, Saywell a good duel, Cook lifted a bit in that quarter, and Lee, as ever, continued with his great form.
So Bulldogs with the breeze, kicked 2 goals, 2. Port Adelaide against the breeze, kicked 3 goals, 4 to lead by 16 points. The three-quarter time score here in the SANFL Grand Final. Port Adelaide 7-10, Central's 5-6. You're watching the SANFL Grand Final live and exclusive to ABC Sport.
Well, haven't Central District got their work cut out? Just under 3 goals the difference. They're going to come home against what is remaining as a 2 or 3 goal breeze. They're fresh, but they're certainly going to have that freshness tested. One of Port Adelaide's greatest supporters is the wife of Stephen Williams, Sue Williams, and David Mackay had the pleasure of catching up with her before today's game.
Sue, the coach's box at Football Park, not a bad view from here. Do you appreciate the pressure Stephen's under when he's in here?
I think it would be really nerve-wracking, a lot worse than as he felt as a player. The pressures are to look after the 20 players or 21 players out there rather than just your own game. So I think it's totally different than when he was playing.
Sue, you must be very proud Stephen's coaching his first grand final for Port Adelaide.
Yes, very proud. He's done really well and he's really confident there'll be a win.
What's he like at home? Does he sort of strut around, or is he pretty intense, or is he quite relaxed?
He's fairly relaxed. The final half day before the game, he probably starts to get a little bit tense, but no, he's fairly good. He handles it well.
Now, what about the Williams family? It's a great football dynasty. Is there any pressure from outside towards you?
The family's always really supportive. We're all involved. Everyone comes to watch if they can, and no, they're all really supportive.
My mind goes back to last year's grand final when Port Adelaide won, and he had young Jackson, who was just a nipper, your son, his son, out on the ground over the shoulders. It must have been a proud moment for you as a mum.
Yes, he was a little bit overawed by the whole situation and all the noise, but no, he had had a wonderful time out there with him.
Now, what about this year, if Port Adelaide win? Will we see him out there again?
Well, who knows? We'll just see what the moment brings.
Now, you're about 8.5 months pregnant, baby nearly due.
That's right, yep.
Hopefully the grand final's not going to bring on a baby.
It would be nice not to.
Any message for Stephen as we go into the final term?
Just have a win and make sure it's a good quarter.
Pretty easy advice, isn't it? But at 8.5 months pregnant, I reckon she would be getting pretty close at the moment. Look, Port Adelaide just looking command at the moment, don't they? It's going to take something special for Central to get out of this one.
They really are tough and tenacious. They're hard at the body, they're hard at the man. Their midfield, particularly through Francis and Ginniver, has been tremendous. Mead in first ruck, a great deal of physical presence. But their key forwards, the 3 key forwards, I believe, Hodges, Treadray in that full forward line, but Darren Smith at centre-half forward, the 3 of them combining to make the difference.
If you wanted to put your finger on a turning point, Robert Schaefer's reversal of the kick that he had in defence to give Hodges his 3rd, I think, or perhaps 4th, was just a critical error.
No doubt about that, and I think Schaefer, along with Conway and Bork, will really have a lot to do for the Bulldogs if they are to get back and manufacture a win.
So at three-quarter time, Central District 5 goals, 6, 36. They trailed 7-10-52, a margin of 16 points. Having led at quarter time by 3 points, it just wasn't enough really. They had the breeze at their backs and they didn't really use it. Hodges is the man with 4 so far, Treadray a couple, and Peter Vardy is the only multiple scorer for Central District. And Peter Vardy, a very important player, but not quite enough from him. This was one of Central District's rare highlights in the 3rd term.
Well, Vardy, the move was made out of the forward pocket to the centre wing, and he really did respond. He opened with a blaze of glory in the 3rd quarter, and that was a fine goal.
Statistically, Port Adelaide started to get on top in terms of the kicks. They're definitely ruling the airways. That is a very, very thin number of marks for Central District. And Scott Hodges at the front end has been exceptional with his 4 goals.
He really has. He's led hard, he's crashed into the body. He's just stood in the way there of Schaefer, just enough for Schaefer to respond, initiate some sort of, well, contact. And, of course, the retaliator is always caught out, and Hodges equal to the task. Iceman went back, cool, calm and collected, addressed the goals and put it through for another goal for him.
I didn't think that Schaefer really fired up after that. It didn't seem as though he'd responded in a way that Stephen Wright would have liked. There he was on screen, and Darren Smith at centre-half forward started to burst into the game as well.
You see there Darren Mead, another big influence. I think his physicality has had a big outcome on the game. But that Smith mark, that is one of the best marks you'll ever see. And understanding the context of the situation, you can see Hodges and Treadray, the other two tools, held out of position. Smith just launched himself from the side to take a great mark.
Well, there's Schaefer. This is live now, and he's there and ready to go into business. And Stephen Wright would be very anxious at the moment. His three-quarter time address would have been full of emotion, I'm sure.
At three-quarter time, we once again we'll go over our game plan, make sure we are sticking to that, make sure we are disciplined. We will go over that we know that whether we're up or whether we're down, Port Adelaide will just keep on coming and keep on coming. So we'll have to go out in the last quarter, not just to hold on to the game, but to win the game.
Roger Girdham on screen. Back in business, went from the ground for a while. Darren Mead, so very influential today. And we just saw Rick McGowan being shadowed by Michael Wilson. The umpire holds it up. There's 30 minutes left of football. Keep in mind that Central District have beaten Port Adelaide 4 times this year. David, will they make it 5?
Well, it's a lot of work in front of them, Stephen, if they're going to. They trail by 16 points. This will be their best quarter of football for the year if they overcome Port Adelaide. Cook, claimed by Geneva, goes to ground. Umpire Avon indicates that he'll come in and have a bounce.
And they're the little things that have enabled the Port Adelaide midfield to be slightly on top. The 1%ers, the great tackles, as seen there, Tim Geneva, the captain.
Well, less than 25 minutes of football, you'd suggest, left in the season as Girdham gives it off to Schwert, who's been good from a half-back flank. He drives it long. Wakeland tries to shepherd it through. Does so successfully, but it's the wrong side of the post. And it's a point where they needed a goal, and they need Wakeland, who seems to be suffering from a leg injury, just to find something of the ball at full forward.
He's the jumping jack. Started on half-back, was injured, we left the ground, returned after half-time, and now finds himself up forward.
Fabian Francis paddled it away. Stevens gives it off to big Rob Schaefer. Through half-forward he goes. Vardy tried to... Well, he went to play on. Now he can chip it over the top, does so. Cook, and Cook's got it deep in the pocket.
Difficult shot for goal, though. Cook, a left-footer, the wind blowing across him. Will be a fine goal if he's able to register, but none ever more important than in this one for Tim Cook.
Didn't kick a lot of goals early in his career. He's kicked, what, 23 goals this year. The man from North Clear goes towards goals. Well, they need this, the Bulldogs, and he's kicked the point. I think even he thought it might have just gone through. The goal umpire had a very good look at it and indicated a point.
Certainly looked okay off the boot. Mark Conway started to celebrate. The goal umpire, despite what we saw at that end in the first term with the David Brown kick in the best spot to have a good look at that. Anderson to the halfback. His handball partly smothered in the end. I think it might have favoured Mead. He goes to ground. Central needs some fizz in that midfield, and they need it so very, very quickly. In fact, they need an Alfred-Seltzer. Well done now towards Fiacci. Port Adelaide, this is dangerous when he starts to run. Around the body he goes. Sun shining here at Football Park, and it's doing the best on Port Adelaide. Crashing his way through. McGuinness hands it back and decides not to go with the handball. He goes with a kick instead. Of Port get one here. It might just about break the back of the Bulldogs. And it goes across the line.
Well, in this modern game of football, 2 or 3 goals is not a lot. I mean, it's still anyone's game. You want to change your tip, Stephen?
Look, I think that Central District can win it. There's no doubt about that. But the problem is that Port Adelaide, with the lead and with a bit of the breeze, will just close it down if Central get a couple. That's the problem they've got.
So Scotty Lee bounces away from the back pocket, chips it short. Saywell led off and then doubled back, just set it up for the pass.
And that was great experience by Lee. He had Girdham on the inside, but realised he was being closed down upon, so elected to carry the ball a further distance and then used it equally well with a good kick to Saywell.
McGowan dragged off the ball. Roger Girdham with that dislocated finger, or perhaps a compound fracture, plays on. Jared Cotton, do they need a lift from him? They need some explosiveness from their star half forward. Girdham over the top on Fiacci. Fiacci couldn't get it out. Now, I'm not so sure.
It was a good tackle. He wrapped him up well, did Roger Girdham, and it could have easily went the other way. The umpire again a lot closer than us.
George is feeling that one. I think he got a knee in the back. I think they win. He'll have a bit of anaesthetic tonight. McGowan flicks it out, but Geneva steals it away. bobs it towards half forward, and Schwert's been very good overhead today. His marking's been terrific.
Schwert now to the midfield. Stevens has the acceleration. He gets level with and then goes past. Look at the two boys in action, the ghosts. Stevens and Rowan Smith. Stevens gets it back from Green and then a quick kick forward. It tumbles. Tough one to take, as Rex Hunt would say, one of those finger-breaking mongrel punt kicks. Centre wing, Stevens trips. Good luck, Devo. He's caught. Turns over. Ginniver. That's the costly error. Francis. Brown. And they should score now on the break. Hodges. Well done this time by Hicks. It goes out the back. The boundary line looms pretty large. And it goes across.
Well, had Port Adelaide been too physical for the Bulldogs, Ken?
Well, they certainly have shown a great deal of physical capacity, but gee, I don't think there's any excuse for players not holding their feet on this fine deck.
Oh, it's a magnificent oval. McGuinness. Oh, could this be the sealer? He's brought it back too far. He does tend to kick the great goal, McGuinness. He's got terrific goal sense. That one he just dragged back a little far, and it's a point.
Well, McGuinness has been good up forward. You've got to have a good mixture of talls and smalls. Port Adelaide have 3 talls and they have 3 smalls, and it's a lot of leg speed, a lot of electricity that McGuinness is creating. He's getting to the front and square of every pack, and he's just getting his hands on the loose football in the forward line.
Ball lays around the body to Brown. Loose across the top to Hodges. Shouldn't miss from there. Bends it around. He just knows where the goals are, doesn't he? Scott Hodges gets 5. The champion has put his stamp on this game in no small way.
And what a lesson there is there for any youngster aspiring to play in the full forward line, whether it be a forward pocket or a full forward. Didn't even look at the goals, Hodges. He knew where they were. That sixth sense, he just understood and went bang. That's a great ability to have.
You can't practice that in training either, can you? So Scotty Hodges gets his 5th. Port Adelaide go to 8-11, 59. Central are 5-8, 38. It's a 21-point buffer in favour of the reigning premiers. Anderson, forward, into space. Borlase lost his footing. The umpire said he was holding Schwert on the way down. And Stephen Schwert takes the free kick at centre half-back.
Schwert playing at half-back, number 40 for the Bulldogs. Well in their best players, along with Scott Lee, playing in the full-back line. But they need a lift in the midfield and from their key forwards.
Port Adelaide are incredible, aren't they? Just time and time again you say you don't tip against Port Adelaide in finals. They're 21 points up and blasting forward as Cook goes off to Girdham. Wilson steals it away, comes back on the left. Fine young player, gives it off to Rowan Smith. He's hit the target today pretty well. Fiarchi is running. Fabian Francis has been fantastic. Well, that's his first error, isn't it? And you could forgive him. He's covered so much ground. Green got him. Now off it goes to Vardy, who blasts through centre half forward. Northeast sits under it. Great courage. Heard the pack coming and still held his ground and marks.
And tremendous play by Roger Delaney. 5 metres from the drop of that ball, keeping Conway away from the drop of the contest, just shepherding him out, not allowing him access to the drop of the ball. Northeast taking the easiest of marks.
Best and fairest in 91. He's played in a couple of grand finals. Schaefer in the midfield marks, and the big fellow will push it off to Schwert.
Stevens kick to half forward. Girdham's there. He's giving away some height in the end. He intelligently just pushed it forward to Saywell. Drops a gear and away he goes inside half forward, and they just can't do anything right inside half forward.
Well, it's the senior players, the Ginnivers, the Delaneys, that are really lifting for Port Adelaide. When the crunch time is there, they were seizing the opportunity.
Mead, 50 metres clear, makes a hash of it, and goes across the line with Fiarchi.
Ken, I've got to ask you, Delaney, Fiarchi, Ginniver, would you have those blokes go on like next year? I think they could play for another 3 or 4 years the way they're going. Some of them are talking about retiring. It's ludicrous.
Well, there's no doubt that they just have the understanding, the necessary formula towards success. And that is just by a hard work rate and an understanding of the game pattern. And they're just applying themselves so well here today.
He's tried to close it down. Saywell emerges with it. Spare one inside his Borkle, decides to go on his own. Wrong spot, though. It just hits the head of the square now. Wakeland and Delaney, and the Iceman will just clean it up at the back. Right leg. Far side, has a look at the boundary line, I reckon. Puts in the long ones, Roger. He wouldn't have run that far probably for 3 weeks. Far side, it goes across the line. Just a reminder of the score line as Roger Girdham sits on the boundary line. 8.5 minutes gone. Port Adelaide are 8-11. Central District of 5-8. They're going to have to kick 4 sausages to get back into it.
Well, I don't know what they can do, perhaps apart from put perhaps their two best players in Swirt and Lee, simply put them on the ball and make something happen from the midfield, because how long can you wait?
Wilson steals it away. A long ball, another goal, and it's good night, Bulldogs. It falls at the back. McGuinness is there. Can he kill him off? He gathers it just on the line, keeps it in. Oh, Scotty Hodges off the ground. It bounced up, and there's a free kick. Hicks will take the free kick on the last line of defence. And what a flurry of activity and desperation. And Scott Lee, the tater, wasn't he fantastic? Saved that goal that Scott Hodges almost certainly had against his name.
And in that caption, in that on screen, you can just see the desperation. It's been so evident in this final.
He's been fabulous, Lee. We talked about a Jack Odin medalist for the best on ground at the end. It will probably come from a Port player at the moment as Potter gets tripped. Scott Lee will give it a shake from the Bulldogs, I can tell you that. Away goes Stephen Schwert. A tumbler towards centre wing. Anderson's on his own out there. Schwert followed his own kick up. He's working extremely hard, Stephen. He can't do anything with that one, though. Potter, hands and knees. Port Adelaide with numbers. Little touch of class now from Francis. Across the top he goes. Wilson, equally effervescent for him. It gets pushed backwards. McGowan won't have enjoyed the tag from Wilson today as the ball goes screeching towards the line on the far side. 10 minutes have gone.
Does beget the question, Ken, you might give some thought to who your Jack Odie medalist would be. There's probably 2 or 3 or maybe 4.
Fabian Francis, to me, has been the outstanding player on the ground. But I agree, Scott Lee, Stephen Schwert have been enormous, and so has Tim Ginniver.
There's a fair few more good players. D. Smith, a big game player, and yet again he enhances his reputation today. That's a great mark, courageous mark, Treadray. Talk about growing in stature, this young man. I said earlier he's 18. I think he's only about 17 years and 9 months. So he's not even 18. I think they've confiscated his shaver. I think he thought he could shave, but he's not old enough.
And back to that medal, you could put at a guess, I suppose, any one of the 3 key forwards that had a big influence for the Magpies, Treadray, Smith and Hodges.
Well, this young gun, he's kicked 2. He's kicked 1 out of bounds on the full. And he just spoils the ledger a little bit by kicking a point. He's been pretty good. I think he'll go away happy with his game tonight.
Particularly if he's got a medallion around his neck.
Well, he's just so hard to match up on. He is athletic, he is tall, and he has an enormous amount of natural football ability.
Saywell on the far side. A little stint with Fitzroy for him. He's been a great player through the year, but today he's had difficulty on his centre wing despite having a keen duel with Anderson. Schwert, Hereda, they're running out of time, the Bulldogs. They need 4 and they need a couple very quickly to get some momentum up. Well done by Carter. Just paddles it to himself and then gets the kick away to Hodges. Now this man, round 1 last year, broken ankle. Sorry, bounced back to play in a grand final in the Premiership last year, and at the moment he looks great.
Just remembering his kick of last week from almost the same spot.
I think this is a bit further. He'll need the zoom boot on to get it from there.
The wind last week was going left to right of screen. Today it's going right to left. It will carry, no doubt, this ball will carry a long way.
Thumps it up there. Oh, he's got the zoom boot on, all right. He's kicked another one.
It's his favourite spot on the ground.
Port Adelaide are marching on towards their 34th premiership. Hodges, 1 in the first, 1 in the second, 2 in the third, and now 2 in the last term means that he's got a total of 6. And you might add him to your list of Jack Odie medal contenders as well.
As we said before, and Stephen Carter, also high in contention of the best players, has been tremendous across half-back. The reason Hodges was able to get that shot at goal was because of the rebound, the anticipation of the half-back flanker for Port Adelaide, Stephen Carter.
28 points the margin. There's no catching them from here. Port Adelaide will win their 34th. They're going to go on and do it again, and you can just hear the collective despair of the Central District fans. They thought this year was their year, and you'd have to say any other side except Port Adelaide wouldn't have blown a candle to this Bulldog outfit. As Jimmy Wine limbers up on the boundary line.
The stomach would be turning at the moment, wouldn't they? Because there was so much expectation, so much hope. And Port Adelaide, well, we give them credit. The game's not over yet, but we have to give them credit. This is, and I'll go out on a limb and say it, this is one of the most sensational sides that I can remember seeing in football. They always come when they look dead. They always come at you. Boltwell, quick kick forward under extreme pressure, and Port Adelaide are still applying it. They're not letting up at all. As Delaney shows in there with Lees and with Fiachi. Fiachi's been excellent. Quick kick, finds Borlase. Daisy Borlase now on halfback. The deputy vice-captain, he leads it off with his left leg and finds Francis.
Sensational, this kid.
The fabulous Fabian Francis towards half-forward. Spoiled forward. Hereda at the back, flicked on Darren Smith. He'd love to finish this one off. Hereda's very close, but Darren breaks a break and then kicks wide.
He'd done all the hard work, Darren Smith. Let himself down with, it probably didn't realise that he got so clear. But what about the structure of Port Adelaide, the rebound out of defence? Fiarchi ever so cool to Borlase, playing as a ruck rover, but just creating that extra option out of defence, linking with Fabian Francis, who structurally is playing his wing in a magnificent fashion.
Now, Darren Smith is playing his 299th game today, fellas, so he'll have to front up next year to get his 300. And I'm sure the club will find it pretty easy to convince him to go on. Hereda.
He'd play it tonight, I'd reckon, he's 300.
Replay this one, you think. Jimmy Wine missed it. Good desperation, goes over the top of the ball, flicks it forward. Wilson at the back door, goes on the left. Brown, mark at half forward. Ginniver's running over the top. It could have gone. Hodges was coming, ignored. And Brown sets it up. You'll wait for Hodges to go back in the square. Ginniver to fall into the pocket and open it up. He pushes it to the point of the square. Out comes Scotty, big fly, 2 hands, 2 bites, couldn't get there, goes back. That's his recovery, Scotty, isn't it? 2 bites at the cherry, missed it, the ball falls and he's first man to hit the deck and grab it.
Well, I think it was highlighted before that he has come back from a broken ankle. Like, very difficult to do that, those little things in tight, but he really has lifted his rating in that area this year.
We see him perform like this and you just wonder whether the power can't do something to entice him from the Crows or get him back from the Crows, because when you see him play like this, he is magnificent.
Port Adelaide now careering towards another premiership, and they have been quite sensational. You just have to tip your hat to them. They keep coming back when you don't think they can. They looked tired last week. They got out of it with the second to last kick of the game. And were it not for the Hodges leg, they probably wouldn't even be here today, but that's the way they do it. They just keep getting out of it. Wine to half forward. Lees works back, and with plenty of time, had the time, didn't use it though, just went to the boundary. 9-13 the Magpies, Central District to 5-8.
This stage of the game, it's safety first. He's not taking any chances. There's no need to.
Well, they really only have to absorb up perhaps another 4 or 5 minutes of play, and then you'll find that the Central District's side may concede. But at the moment, they're still alive. They need a goal from this forward thrust.
29 points the margin in favour of Port Adelaide. Roger Girdham, the skipper. Can he come on for one last hurrah and lift his side? Green comes off.
Peter Green, I think, probably with a blood rule, and Roger Girdham's going to take his spot. They've made a lot of changes today, the Bulldogs. Turned over players left, right and centre.
They've been brutalised today. Port Adelaide have intimidated them and brutalised them.
Well, they've got a problem with Wakeland, who's spent a lot of time off the ground. They're unbalanced by the loss of Flood. And inside the first 10 minutes, Ken, they had a problem with Borkwill, a problem with Wakeland.
And Hereda.
So, really, things swung Port Adelaide's way very quickly.
It's a Sunday, bloody Sunday today, isn't it?
Far side, it's Wilson. Puts in the short ones, takes a couple of bounces. Nobody within Cooey, so he goes with the leg. Within about 45 metres, Scott Lee. Resolute defender today, just couldn't be everywhere. That's the problem for him. Squeezed through the pack, working back is Hicks. He's had a nightmarish day. Across the top, watch out for Ginniver, well tackled by Hicks. And despite giving away 6 rounds, Smith's got another one. Rowan's first. Port Adelaide march on.
Isn't that just tremendous to see? Rowan Smith, number 13 for Port Adelaide, one of the old experienced players, played in many of these occasions, and just never say die. Gets to his feet quickly and just toe pokes that through for his first for the day.
Rowan's played in 5 grand finals. He missed the 1991, of course, with a broken jaw. And I don't think too many goals in too many games will give him much more joy than this. Because at 30, he's probably only got another 10 years left. Oh, they'll play on and on. Cook, forward, Girdham. What great courage, what a great skipper he's been. He hasn't really lowered his colours today. And the Bulldogs just need to find something, don't they? Borkwill, a rare touch, bends it back around the corner. It's coming back nicely. He's kicked it. They needed his mobility earlier, and that's his first. He hasn't had much of the ball. He's had 3 kicks for 1 goal.
can see here McGowan linking well, Crumming in the midfield, putting it over to Borkwell, who kicked a fine goal, bending back with the breeze, and they really do need a lift from those players. Borkwell, Conway, Schaefer, they have to respond, they have to get themselves to the contest so that the smaller players, such as evidence then, McGowan, are able to crumb and then keep pushing it forward into this breeze.
David Brown comes off. Number 50, Anthony Bamford comes on. Pretty big year for David Brown. Triplets in the family. Quite a number of games with the Adelaide Crows. And he's gone for a spell. A well-earned spell. He's worked very, very hard. 73 plays 44. Port Adelaide are in command. Francis goes from mid-air. Little nippy Ginniver around the body on the left leg. Hodges charges out towards the ball. And it goes across the line. Well, Port Adelaide have been, you have to just acknowledge they've been magnificent.
No doubt about that. And the record's going to be 8-1. 9-1 now in favour of Port Adelaide and Central in finals.
Pretty big celebration coming up, having won the reserves grand final as well against Norwood by 28 points earlier today. So all of Alberton will be rocking tonight.
This grand final really couldn't miss. With Central, if they were successful, their first ever, and the Magpies making it 3 in succession.
Schwert. The floater. Under it was Mead and Schaefer. Getting it away was Vardy. Through half forward. Carter used his body on McGowan. McGowan picks it up. Gets through. Gets away a handball. Ginniver holds it in the area. And Bamford's off again. So he's only just come on. And they've made another change.
David Brown just receiving a little bit of strapping perhaps to his right knee. Just enough now to see him through to the end of the game.
Spoiled forward, well done by Fiacci from the ground. The flash Francis around the body for him. Also there is Borlays. Darren Smith presents okay, it goes backward of him. Hodges and Herrera are on a collision course. Well done by Brian Herrera and also by Hodges. And the pickup was neat also by Hicks. Schwert, Saywell, Francis on the pressure. Lee arrives and punches it a little further up centre wing. We've got a great crowd in. 21 minutes have gone, and this crowd of 46,120, a capacity crowd. I'm sure they've enjoyed the game, but if you're wearing a black and white scarf, you will have had a much better day out.
Now they've measured them out at 46,600 is the absolute jam-packed total attendance, so it's not bad that the SANFL can record something like that crowd. Girdham to Cook, through half forward. Port Adelaide fans are popping these champagne corks at home. A few beers have had their tops ripped off. Jimmy Wine holding the ball. Port Adelaide relentless. We're 21 and a half minutes into the final term. The margin's 29 points and Port Adelaide are doing everything as if it were the first term. This is Brown. And they love to have him home from the Crows too. Through half forward. Treadray front position. At the back it was Brenton Daniel conceding ground to Scotty Hodges. A long one to Schwert, who's been very good today. He can hold his head high, Stephen Schwert. It's been a marvellous game by him. Now the kick. Where does it finish? It finishes with Jimmy Wind, who really hasn't had a big one. Schwert's 19 kicks, 9 handballs. Wind has 10 kicks, 2 handballs. Mead comes at it. Carter crashes through. We'll see him playing in a power Guernsey next year. Through the midfield to Darren Smith, who's been exemplary. He's killed Herrera today. This time he almost takes it in. Girdham flicks it forward. Herrera runs. Jimmy winds through the middle and he spears it long and low. The target was Wakeland. He didn't get near it. Northeast, over the top, lures, pressure. And I think a very tired lady, number 7, just dives on top of the ball and forces a bounce. And Shane Crothers comes on for his first run of the afternoon.
The half-back line has been magnificent. In fact, the entire back 6 of the Port Adelaide team.
Carruthers getting set to have his first run for the day. It's ample demonstration of how good Darren Mead's been.
He has been good, Mead, hasn't he?
In the first rucking division, he's been outstanding. Port Adelaide are 10-13. Central District are 6-8. So that means that in this term, Central have kicked 1. Port Adelaide have kicked 3. There won't be a lot of time on. There's a big celebration coming for the Maggies in just a moment. Bounce down. 40 metres from the Central goal. It's pushed forward. Again, Wilson's in there. And it should be well recognised, Michael Wilson, for the shadowing work he's done today. Ginniver, Francis, electric on centre wing inside half forward. The push by Saywell. We'll see Darren Smith with the ball at half forward on the left side.
Look at Flash. Fabian Francis.
So much passion during the week as we see Mead come off to a standing ovation by the Maggie supporters. So much passion during the week. Darryl Poole was suspended. We heard from the Magpie camp that it would lift them. One had to doubt whether they could keep doing it, though, because he'd been their best player over the final series. But they have lifted with all the passion that we come to expect from the Maggies. Round the corner. Not taken. Francis. If he finishes this off, it would be amazing. He can't. He handballs it back to Rowan Smith, who hits the head of the square. The strength of Hodges on show again. Taken. He is just a genius. 6 goals for Scotty.
Punched the pack and juggled the mark. There's nothing this bloke can't do.
What a tremendous kick from Rowan Smith. Put it to the front of the goal square, and Hodges outnumbered 3-1. Used his big frame to advantage to take a great chest mark.
The term gets used so often that sometimes it's devalued. But this guy, lining up for his 7th, is a dead set champion. He has 640 career goals, a McGarry medal, a couple of Ken Farmer medals, and his performance again in the grand final of '96 has been the difference. 25 minutes gone. Scotty Hodges, have a big party, lad. You've played beautifully.
Well, he really has to be close to being named as best player on the ground. The midfield has been dominant through Francis, Ginniver, Brown, Mead in first ruck, Wilson his tagging performance on McGowan. The half-back line of Northeast, Lees and Carter, and Delaney at fullback has stopped Big Conway. But up forward, the three-pronged tools of Treadray with a couple, Darren Smith playing a tremendous game at centre-half forward, and Hodges, the key focal point, the full forward, now has 7 out of 11.
35 points, and here comes Stephen Williams with his son Jackson down to the boundary line. Brian Threadgold, the assistant coach or chairman of selectors, behind him. That's a throw. Fiacci, they'll win this. Now remember, put it in perspective, they haven't beat Central District on one occasion this year, and they're 35 points clear, 26 minutes into the final term of the 1996 grand final, and they are still fighting to the death. There he is, Stephen Williams, David Keys on the right, Brian Fairclough on the left. David Arnfield, the runner, just shoos the media away, and this is their moment. His dad won 9 premierships as a coach with Port Adelaide, as a playing coach, and today Stephen Williams wins his first in his long coaching journey. Rowan Smith pushes it to the goal square, but it's across the face. And Ken, just a little stat for you. There's been 210 coaches since the turn of the century. 10 have won flags in their first year. Only 4 since the Second World War. Ken Farmer, Jeff Motley, Jack McCarthy, Neil Curley, and now Stephen Williams.
He'll be just elated, obviously. The tradition continues at Port Adelaide. The ethos, the mission, just the togetherness of this club is something very, very special in team sport.
I wrote them off. I didn't think they could come up with 3 hard finals in their legs and beat a fresh Central District side who have been the grand side of the season. But Port Adelaide, make no mistake about it, they know how to win finals, and particularly grand finals.
Well, their basic ingredients, just hard at the approach, at the man and at the ball, just win those 50-50 contests, and when you've got it, use it to advantage. Play the percentages, and your work rate just has to be enormous.
Crothers' first mark, first kick, 27.5 minutes into the final term. The former Geelong reserves best and fairest kicks it off to McGuinness, and wouldn't he be happy, this young fella, crossed this year from Glenelg to Port Adelaide, and his first year with a new club, plays in a premiership side, and he's their second highest goal kicker. And this guy has come back from Richmond. He was leaving to be reserves captain this year, Lees, come back to the club, and he'll play in his second grand final in 2 years. Fegan, an up-and-comer. He'll play for the Power next year, no doubt about that. Schaefer, fingertips to it. Scotty Lee to the boundary line. Bamford towards Scotty Hodges. He's got it, the big guy. It's kicked 7 already, 7 goals too, and this will make it 8. He's just a powerhouse.
Well, he's just treating Hicks like a puppet. They're just pushing him off with extra body strength. It's a big ask from Hicks, particularly when it's coming in so often, and Hodges now is in full flight, full of confidence.
So there it is, the siren's gone. Scotty Hodges has got 7-3 in fact. Can he make it 8? No, it's 7 goals for. Fair day at the office for Scotty Hodges. So the final score in the 1996 SANFL Grand Final, Port Adelaide, 11 goals, 14-80, have defeated Central District 6 goals, 8-44 to take their 34th Premiership flag.
You can see the Port Adelaide players there just full of elation. A magnificent achievement. It is 3 on in to the Magpies. Some magnificent players they had all over the ground. Coach Stephen Williams taking over from Jack Cale, who will coach the Port Power next season. Filled the shoes admirably. Couldn't have asked for any more. And in his first year as coach has led his club to their 3rd premiership in succession. They had great players. Their captain, Tim Ginniver, was magnificent. Their gun full forward, Scott Hodges, with 7, was clearly the difference. Fabian Francis on centre wing, to me, was possibly the best player on ground, but I'm sure the medalist may go to Hodges or indeed Ginniver. Carter across half-back was fantastic, as was Lees at centre half-back, and Delaney also. Stephen Wright, his first year with the Bulldogs. He's had success with Clarence. He's a fighter, played over 200 games with the Sydney Swans, a member of the AFL 200 club, a great person in football. And I'm sure that out at Central District tonight, they will, I guess, celebrate in the wake of their 2nd loss. But perseverance is one of the key factors to any successful team, and the Bulldogs just must continue to fight on. The winner takes all in the grand final, unfortunately. Little admiration or accolade is given to the team that's actually able to get there. Norwood missed out last week, the Eagles the week before, but it is Central who suffer today.
Well, the Bulldogs despair, Port Adelaide celebrate. It's the only time this year that Port Adelaide, in 5 outings, have beaten the Bulldogs, and it's done it in the game that counts the most, the 96 grand final.
They really did look like they were set for their first ever win. As Stephen Wright collects his players together, capturing the moment, something must be instilled in their players to make them harder, tougher, more resolute, just more purposeful when they get here again next year. I'm sure that they have the club infrastructure, the personnel, the mission, I guess, to make sure that they're up and about this time next year as well, perhaps to play in their 3rd premiership or for their 3rd grand final, hopefully with fruits bearing this time next year. But Port Adelaide, they are the champions of the day, beaten by 4 times through Central District's dominance earlier throughout the season. But today, when it really mattered, they really did stand up. Paul Northeast, wasn't he great at half-back? He really did do a fine job for the Magpies.
6 grand finals for Paul Northeast, 6 for Owen Smith and 6 for Roger Delaney. Give a thought to Scotty Hodges, Darren Smith, George Fiarchi and Tim Ginniver, who today have played in their 7th. And there's Stevie Williams with his son Jackson down on the boundary, son of Foss Williams. It's a great day for him. Congratulated by Stevie Wright.
Stephen, a fantastic effort. Your first half season of coaching. How does it feel?
Yeah, unbelievable, Nails. To say this time last year that I'd be here coaching the side, I wouldn't have believed it.
Is it good as feeling as playing the game or as coaching it?
It's a great feeling. I think playing's better. It's a player's game, but it's just great to be involved.
Most of Adelaide wrote you off this week. I mean, look at the Titters poll, and most of them went for Central Districts. Did you use that in your pre-match address?
Yeah, I was always really confident, even though they'd beaten us every time. I just thought we had a team that could beat them, and you know, we don't mind everyone tipping against us.
And next year, you're coming back for more?
Oh, my word, yeah, this is too good to let go.
Well done. Congratulations, all the best for 97.
Thanks very much, mate.
For when I've come back.
And there is David Brown, the Jack Odie medalist,
and all you supporters. Thanks
being
very much.
presented with his medal. Wonderful effort for David Brown. 14 kicks, 7 handballs.
Congratulations to
7
David.
marks.
And to present the medals and to welcome the players one by one, would you welcome, please, Triple McGarry medalist and Hall of Fame inductee Barry Robran, and the president of the SANFL, Mr. Max Bashir. So the players, your players, one by one for their premiership medals. First up, a magnificent game, number 3, Fabian Francis. Number 4, George Fiacci. Number 5, Brian Lees. Number 7, the Iceman, Roger Delaney. What about this for a performance? 7 goals out of 11 in a grand final. Scott Hodges, number 11. Number 13, Ron Smith. Number 15, Michael Wilson. The Deputy Vice Captain of this Port Adelaide side, Daisy Borlays. Number 17, Nigel Fegan. And for the second time, number 21, David Brown. I think the next player will be appreciating his move. Number 23, Philip McGuinness. Number 24, Brian Benke. Number 26, Greg Anderson. I wonder if he's stuck on 299 games. Number 28, Darren Smith. To come up for his 6th Premiership medal, number 32, Paul Northeast. Number 33, Darren Mead. Number 36 is Stephen Carter. Number 38 is Shane Crothers. Number 50, Anthony Bamford. And in number 56, Warren Treadrow. Since round 14 of this year, Premiership player himself and now Premiership coach, Stephen Williams. And to receive his medal and the Thomas Seymour Hill Cup from Mr. Max Bashir, little nippy, Tim Ginnivan, number 1.
Right, I'm new at this, so if you could just bear with me for a few minutes. Firstly, to Steve and the Centrals boys, I know there's not much I can say. It's a shocking feeling. You've been a good side all year. I think you should be very proud
you play the way Port Adelaide play football. No other side really wants to play like we do, but to your credit, you copied our style, and it's a credit to your team to get to where you've got to, and I'm sure you'll have this opportunity one day. Thanks very much. Yeah, okay. And one more thing, I'd just like to thank these guys over here. I think the coaches are really a little bit overrated. If you haven't got the players, you won't win anything, and I'm just so proud of the 20 or 30 odd players that are over here now. They've been fantastic to coach. And just one final thing, my dad wasn't well enough to be here today, so this one's for you, Foss. Thanks.
All right. First of all, to Centrals and their supporters, they've been a fantastic club this year. They have improved, and next year, for them, I hope they make it again. Well done, boys. And our fellas, who are looking very, very cheery to get up here. Firstly, there's been a couple of dedications this has gone to. A few blokes that couldn't play today. Tony Malacallis, Robbie West, been an inspiration all year, and big Darryl Poole. It's now the end of another era, and we look forward. There'll always be a Port Adelaide Magpies. Hey, let go.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 1996 Premiers, Port Adelaide. Would you give them a big round of applause as they move around the ground on their lap of honour, Tim?